Hello, check. Hello, check. Check. 1, 2, 3. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ladies and gentlemen, can we all settle down so that we can start session 3? Thank you. ख़वातीन हज़रात, आपसे मुद्दबाना गुजारिश है कि अपनी अपनी नशिस्तों पे तशरीफ़ रखें ताकि हम अगला सेशन जो कि तीसरा सेशन है वो शुरू कर सकें. बहुत शुक्रिया. Ladies and gentlemen, can I have your attention? Can we all settle down so that we can start the session? Thank you. I would request all of you to kindly be seated. Thank you. All those participants who are still finishing their lunch, I would request all of you to kindly finish it quickly and then join us so that we can start session number 3. Thank you. Okay, ji, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Assalamu alaikum. Very formal good afternoon to all the participants of the Future Summit 9th edition, the course correction, redefining the direction. My name is Syed Farooq Hassan. I'll be introducing the panelists for this session. It is quite an honor for me to be part of this wonderful summit. I've hosted, I've anchored a zillion programs till now, but this happens to be probably amongst the best ones with such a beautiful audience, so many learned people under one roof, and specifically the topic of this summit, which is course correction, redefining the direction. We all know that change is the only constant thing in this world. So we need to keep on adapting, we need to keep on evolving. National Bank of Pakistan has partnered with Nutshell, given the strategic importance of this conference, and it's a proud partner. Pakistan is our identity. All of us know that we are what we are because of our country, and it is our duty, it is our responsibility, it is what we owe to our forefathers who got us this independence to take this country forward. Now this session is all about what's shaping Pakistan's new growth story. What's in, what's out, what's happening, and where do we take it from here? I think lately Pakistan has had a lot of international successes on the diplomatic front. We've been part of some very important global decisions, and we've been appreciated by the superpowers. And we need to capitalize on this opportunity. I think this reflects on the government's policies and decisions. On the business front, domestic front, I think we've had a massive interest rate cut, coming down from 22, 23% to 11%. So reducing the cost of finance. We've had some correction in the power sector, charges, tariffs. Then there have been reforms on ease of doing business, and obviously the tax reforms which are still continuing. So all these indicators are good indicators. And as I mentioned before, we need to capitalize on most of these and make the best of them. We all know that the future belongs to the economies that evolve, that change with time, that adapt with time. Pakistan's next growth wave will be defined by resource extraction or real estate. Those are old terms. The new term is DIE, which is digitalization, innovation, and education. These are the three strategic areas which we need to focus on and take our country forward. The rise of digital finance, the expansion of human capital, the regionalization of trade, these are all aspects that we need to look, all the intelligentsia, they all need to look into it in deep focus and then capitalize on the same. Our panelists for this session, we have a list of eminent personalities who are going to join us here on stage and carry the dialogue forward. So let me start by introducing, and as I introduce each panelist, I would request all of you to put your hands together and warmly welcome them. Our first panelist for today is Fatima Asad Sayed. She is the Chief Executive Officer of Abacus. Now Fatima drives, thank you. Fatima drives digital transformation for businesses across various industries and geographies, and she has over 26 years of experience. She has advanced progressive solutions in corporate governance and digital transformation. Our next panelist is Shoaib Javed Hussain. Shoaib Javed Hussain is the Chief Executive Officer of State Life Insurance Corporation of Pakistan, probably one of the youngest CEOs of State Life that I've seen. And Shoaib is he has over 20 years of management experience at leading global insurance groups and consultancies in the United Kingdom and in Asia. So he brings a very diversified experience to this role as the CEO of State Life Corporation of Pakistan. And then I have another very eminent personality, one of my mentors actually, Dr. Amjad Waheed. He's been in the field for quite some time. He's the Chief Executive Officer of NBP Funds, holds a doctorate in business administration with a major in investments and finance, and he's a chartered financial analyst, and he heads the NAFA, which is the NBP Fund Management Limited company. Our next panelist is Natasha Jahangir Khan, who's a partner with ARK Partners and board member, Bank of Khyber. She's a distinguished legal professional with nearly 20 years of experience specializing in energy sector regulation. Can we have Natasha Jahangir Khan on stage? Is she here? Okay, I don't see her. All right. Next panelist is Umar Ehsan Khan. He is the Chief Executive Officer of Dolans. Umar Ehsan Khan is a dynamic executive with extensive regional experience, brings over 30 years of comprehensive expertise across diverse national and multinational corporations, and his career is marked by transformative leadership in complex, evolving environments. Our next panelist is Muhammad Ali Gul Faraz. He is the Chief Executive Officer of Dubai Islamic Bank, DIB as they call it. He'll be joining us for this session also and sharing his valuable expert advice. This session will be moderated by Mr. Usman Yusuf, who's the Director, Nutshell Group. He will moderate this session. He's a graduate of London Business School and the American University of Sharjah. He's an entrepreneur, coach, and an angel investor. And he serves as chairperson and non-executive director of Pro Pakistani, one of Pakistan's top digital news platforms. I'm sure each one of us has seen it on social media. So, Mr. Usman Yusuf, over to you, sir. Sorry, I missed out on one panelist, a very important panelist actually. We've had a speaker from that company in the morning also. Mr. Farooq H. Khan, who's the CFO, Chief Financial Officer for Jazz. He'll be joining us also. He has over 30 years of leadership experience in finance and capital markets. Before Jazz, he served as CEO and Managing Director of the Pakistan Stock Exchange, where he held key reforms to enhance transparency and global competitiveness. Okay, sir, over to you, sponsor.
Okay, we saved the best for last, perhaps. Farooq, welcome to the panel as well. Assalamu alaikum, bismillah, welcome everybody. I was sitting in the audience like many of you this morning, and somehow in Pakistan, at times when you come to these conferences, and we organize a fair number of them, it feels like everything is the same, but everything is different at the same time. There's a concept of the tyranny of the present, which is the present seems like it's going to last forever. This morning, Hasni Saab was talking about Pakistan is turning. And I was sitting in the audience and I thought to myself, sometimes it feels like you're on a roundabout. You are turning, but you're just constantly circling the same roundabout. And it's almost as though you're going nowhere, but you're quite turning as well. But at the same time, I thought to myself that so much has, in fact, changed tremendously. If you look at the last 5 years, and some of you will bear me out, if I asked you 2022, 2023, would Pakistan be where it is in 2025? I don't think a lot of you would have been able to, looking at your televisions or your screens, predicted what has happened, especially in the last 12 months or 18 months or 24 months. So as they say, and I was saying this to a Russian-American colleague at lunch just now, harkat mein barkat hai, so we have to keep moving. And if we constantly keep moving, hopefully things do change for the better. So we have a stellar panel for you today, and the topic of the panel is growth, reimagining growth in Pakistan and finding growth. And we've kind of created a very interesting and diverse panel for you. We have everyone from technology and AI, at least 2 representatives, and then several representatives from finance, and then 1 from manufacturing as well. So we'll try to tie it all together, and really what we're trying to aim for in this panel is discuss growth and the opportunities that are both within and without for growth. So we can course correct, right? So let's try and tie it all together. I'm going to start off with the only lady on the panel, and that's part of our cultural heritage as well, ladies first. So Fatma, I'm going to call on you, and when it comes to technology, the main thing that people are most concerned with today is AI, right? Everyone's AI, everyone's talking about tech and development. Some people fear it, others think it's the answer to all of our ills. Everything will be solved by AI. This gentleman that I was speaking to, he said, master's ki kya zarurat hai, PhD ki kya zarurat hai, ab aapke paas AI hai, right? So AI is everything. And people are having conversations with their AI and so on. But Fatma, looking at Abacus and your experience with AI specifically, what's been 1 or 2 use cases, 1 or 2 priorities that you see with AI and how it's driving growth within Abacus's business and business in Pakistan?
Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, everyone. The disruption that we talk about, which we've had several conversations in many forums, and also I believe as organization, within the organization, as business leaders, as process owners, whether you're in the corporate sector, whether you're in the public sector, and across industry, that is the heart of conversations which link up to sustainability and growth, and of course performance at the end of the day. So it is very much relevant in this day and age. If organizations do not have a roadmap to incorporate AI or RPAs or any form of new technology within their organization, they've already lost the game. But I would take a step back and say, if we look at the ecosystem, not just in Pakistan, but globally, the global winds towards ensuring that the digital transformation is not disruptive to sustainability growth is extremely important. It's about ensuring how do we remain competitive, how as individuals as well as organizations, and also as countries, because the geopolitics around us is changing. It's becoming fragmented. There are many other challenges that face nations at the end of the day. But one thing that is emerging is the need for interoperability between countries, between regions as well. And that goes back into how is Pakistan leveraging the AI conversation and how is it adopting it or adapting to it. One of the key questions that I feel that, when we talk to our clients, whether in Pakistan or across the 30 countries that we serve, mashallah, the question is, what value is that going to add? How is it going to move the needle for you? That's a very important conversation. What KPI is it going to impact? And I believe that the real mindset should be, it's not a fad. It should not be something that we should go after because the whole world is doing that. But it's a transformation which is at the heart of the KPIs, whether it's revenue growth, whether it's cost rationalization, whether it is profitability at the end of the day. Is the fundamental of AI or that API that you've implemented or the digital layer that you have put into your organization, connecting you to external stakeholders as well, is that moving the needle at the end of the day? One of the case studies that we, in the African market with Safaricom, and someone mentioned earlier as well, on M-Pesa, we continue to work with Safaricom, and we built that particular platform in terms of the ecosystem that has evolved. And the streamlining of how do different industries connect is extremely important, because of course it doesn't just impact the telecom, it impacts the financial services, as we know, the retail market, and beyond that, the suppliers, the logistics. The earlier panels talked about the value chain and how that needs to be streamlined. But at the heart of the matter is, how is AI and what are the priorities we need to set for ourselves, whether as a country or as an organization. One is, do we have AI which is augmenting data-driven decision making? So you have the data, then you need to have data analytics, and then you have to have business intelligence or business logic. And the organizations that we partner with on a global level, whether it is Google Cloud or SAP or Oracle, that is the fundamental of how their tools and their business suites are also changing as well. And of course, there's an industry specific. The second is customer experience. So the customer experience is at the heart of the AI transformation as well. So one is the business growth. The other is, how does the customer leverage on, whether it is a survey that is done or the chatbots that you have or any other form of platform which will enable you to better serve the customer, and also create customer analytics to personalize the information. So I believe that all the use cases and the case studies that we see, at least the companies that we are partnering with on a global level, that is a great conversation to have. But it's the investment that is required at the end of the day. That what is that additional rupee investment going to give to me as a business? I mean, that's basic. That's one-on-one in terms of business management. Right. But AI has to be used intelligently. The roadmap has to be really connecting and improving upon the value chain within the organization.
Absolutely. So I think, I would say that it's almost a tightrope. You don't want to fix what's broken, what isn't broken, because things are moving. But at the same time, if you don't enable the same transformation and change with the KPIs, the metrics that you mentioned, and the customer experience, you may get left behind. I'm going to bring Farooq into the conversation, and Jazz has almost a permanent seat at every Nutshell event, Beyond Group, and there's good reasons for that, and Jazz has done great things for everybody in the room, and some companies you don't feel the impact, but Jazz is certainly one where everybody feels that impact. And digitization and creating a digital economy is at the forefront of the agenda for all Pakistanis and for the government, not to say the least, whether it's digitizing the economy or building fintech rails to improve the flow of capital, create the freelancer economy, the tech startups and a boom that we want to create for that. So Farah, I was wondering, illuminate us on what you think are 2 or 3 biggest impact initiatives that you guys are taking or that we can take to create the most impact as far as enabling a sustainable digital economy is concerned.
Thank you so much, Usman, and thank you for that wonderful introduction. And I hope we are living up and can live up to everything that you've said. And certainly it is not through want of trying. Whether it's jazz, whether it's the telecom or more broadly connectivity, that is an essential backbone for any economy right now, and has been for the last 30 plus years at least. And Pakistan has made significant progress in it, and companies and organizations like Jazz have played, along with many others, a extremely important and critical part in it. But I think while we celebrate that move forward and the successes, I think we must also take account of what the potential is and how far we have reached in achieving that potential or not. Or comparable, Fatma mentioned, for example, Safaricom, etc., where other countries, developing countries, have reached. And really in here, in the digital space, just like we saw when we had the telecom, revolution changes coming in the late 80s, early 90s, we don't have to, as a developing country, be constrained or think that we will stay behind the developed countries, because they are actually bound by the old legacy infrastructure that they have. Whereas, so if you look at something like South Korea or even China now, they have leapfrogged many of the developed countries because they started from scratch, so they went immediately for the most up-to-date and most recent infrastructure. So I think while we have achieved a lot, we certainly need to and can do more. And there are simple things, but I think what is required as a country and as all of us who are members of the ecosystem, that like anything that you do, you have to have a holistic overview of how you're going to move forward, right? So, for example, you have to somehow reconcile, just giving an example which everybody would be familiar with, that technology, IT, freelancers, this is going to take our economy forward, but at the same time have repeated slowdowns in internet speed, have repeated shutdowns, right? So, and there are imperatives there as well. But you have to sit together and figure out how this can be managed so that we keep moving ahead. Again, if we acknowledge that, and the 2-3 things that you said, if we acknowledge that connectivity and digitization is really a basic essence if we are to grow as a modern economy, then it cannot be looked at as a luxury good and taxed accordingly, right? So every rupee that we collect, we are an arm of the FBR. It actually costs us like 3-4 billion rupees just to collect tax on behalf, which has nothing to do with us, right? But wo chale humne wo impact le bhi liya. But the customer, for every 100 rupees that they're paying, if 30 rupees out of that is going not to his or her service, to what they're paying for, then that is not correct. If it was a luxury good, then perhaps yes, but not if it is a basic necessity, which it is, whether it's a telewala or whether it's a large PSX listed company. It is needed. So I think looking at it like that. Similarly, we are going into 5G. Hopefully we've done sufficient consideration, that is 4G for all better or 5G for few better, because the way our handsets and all are taxed, you have 5G, but if you don't have handsets, then very few people are going to benefit from that, when majority of your almost 40% of the people are still using analog sets, right? So so I'm saying कि ये चीज़ holistically देखकर हम करें, I mean, there is, we can run faster. Similarly, as I said, as luxury good, you can't have spectrum priced as or that it's a source of revenue as opposed to it being an infrastructure spend, right? We should be spending on rolling out and developing the infrastructure rather than paying a huge cost, and that also as was in previous times, and hopefully the government has been listening to the industry. So hopefully this time the spectrum auctions that are upcoming will be framed differently. So I think those are 2-3 things, a holistic overview of how you want to take the sector forward, so that whether it's taxation, whether it's security concerns, everything can be managed and fits in, not looked at as a luxury good. And similarly, we have an incredible NADRA and national identity system, really using that for a biometric verifications. I mean, it's repeatedly, for anything that you want to do, you have to do biometrics. When it's done once, you should be able to connect it. So happy to talk further, but hopefully that...
That's very illuminating, Farokh. I thought of Jazz initially as a telco, MNO, and then I know that you now define yourself as a digital services company. I hadn't thought of you as an arm of the Pakistani FBR, so that's an interesting interesting framing there, and, certainly true.
We've transformed from monolithic telco to a diversified digital services provider, and that journey, mashallah, is well on its way. But we do act as arm of the FBR as well.
Of course, of course. No, fantastic. So I'm going to now try and shift gears a bit and bring in the finance side of the panel, and I'm going to start with Shoaib here, who's been heading State Life Insurance Company for the last about 4 to 5 years. And something very remarkable has happened. When we think about growth, we want to learn from people who are doing what looks like things being done right. So Shoaib, at State Life Corporation, I understand that you guys have grown revenue by about 200% in the last 3 to 4 years. And you've also grown bottom line by around 300%. Now that's really remarkable. Not only is the top line growing, because top line growth sometimes can be, you can purchase growth in a sense. But getting bottom line growth, you're really doing something right there. So what's the story there? What are lessons that you have sort of learned along the way that you can tell us about, and how did that story unfold over the last 3 to 4 years in a relatively, one could say, unsexy, possibly, with due regards, a sector like insurance? So tell us the story.
I mean, one thing you got right of us being very unsexy. I always joke that insurance is the unglamorous cousin of the financial family. You see, to understand what's driven State Life's growth, I think one thing is that, yes, I did join State Life about 4 years ago. I wasn't in Pakistan, effectively my first real job in Pakistan. And as you said earlier in your comments, that take it back 2 or 3 years ago, the uncertainty, instability Pakistan was going through, a growth story during that same time period does stand out. And what did we do differently in a nutshell? We focused on the Pakistani market. At the end of the day, we talk a lot about business and revenue growth and what we can do, what we can innovate. But it needs to be purpose-driven, there needs to be a goal defined. And when we innovate, the question that I asked myself and the leadership team, what or who are we innovating for? Now, Pakistan is a market of 250 million people. It has a significant middle class. People are, yes, there are difficulties, but one way or the other, people are moving from one cadre to the other. They are surviving. So our focus really became, given that we're an insurance company, that we need to understand the market, the needs of the people, and develop products that meet the need of the people. So we understand the diversity of our market, gender diversity, focus more on the women folk. They're not looked at. They are 50% of our population. What do they need? How can we serve their needs? We look at our population split, where we have a youthful population, so looking at the like you said, digitalized product line, digitalized services. We also look at the income brackets. So yes, we have the high net worths, which usually the boutique firms and large financial companies run after, but actually In volumes, we have a very, what you may call, the middle class or the mass affluent class. We have that established over here. And then we've got the low income, which are rising. And if you look at all these diversifications, you understand the needs are very, very different. And we initially in the first year went into a very a product development buzz. I think we could develop more than 30 to 60 new products in just the first 12 to 18 months. But what that did was it made us ready to actually go out to our customers, have that conversation with them, and understand what we can do to better protect their lives. So one is that. Second is understanding the financial markets of Pakistan. I think the way, yes, stock markets is one thing, but the way the market has grown, I suppose it is state life, as Amjad Saab will say over here, state life played a heavy role when the market was at about 40,000, below 40,000, now it's at 160,000. So reviving the market. And you must remember that State Life, because it's an insurance company, we take the long-term view. So when we come into the financial markets with purpose, we provide confidence to the rest of the market, not only domestic, but also the foreign investors. We know that when the foreign investors look into the Pakistani stock market, they're looking at who are the real institutional investors, long-term investors, because then they know their capital is going to be safe, that these people are there not for short-term gains, but for long-term investment. And if I give you a very succinct statistic, I think it was in 2023, when the stock market started going back up, State Life invested, I think, net about 45 billion into the Pakistan stock market in that 1 year. When the market was at 36, 38,000, that's when we went in. The entire foreign investment was about 25 billion. So while we chase the foreign investment, etc., we need to understand the power that our own in-house financial institutions have, and how do we unlock that power. So in a nutshell, focusing on our domestic market, understanding what they need, backing ourselves that we can provide the protection and the security that people of Pakistan need, developing products for them, delivering and servicing for them, and of course then backing ourselves up with the financial, when we say we are a Pakistani company, then we believe in Pakistan. And what better way to show that than to invest back in Pakistan, which we've done through the capital markets.
Fantastic. You know, it's remarkable, and one of the things that I do is I also work with the London Stock Exchange Group in coaching small and medium enterprise to prepare for listing. So these are companies that are around 10 to 50 million, and one of the things we sort of go in and in terms of the workshop for growth, what we look at as a first step is to look at just from first principles, what are the underserved needs of the market, and you go through a framework to look at that. And it's surprising how the problems are not dissimilar when you travel the world, because most enterprises are going through the same kind of trajectory. And especially when transformation comes to the fore, it's often going back to the drawing board, looking at it from first principles, looking at underserved market and how you can meet those needs. So that's a fantastic outlook, Shoaib, and congratulations on those results. I know that Mohammed Ali Gulfaraz has a meeting to get to, so I'm going to bring him in at this time. Relatively sort of new to Dubai Islamic Bank, I believe Ali, it's been about 6 months. Policy rates are down. Pakistan's ratings with the international credit rating agencies are up. GCC is in play. Central Asia is in play. APAC supply chains are getting reinvigorated. Lots going on in the region and also in Pakistan. So what's DIB's outlook for growth, whether that's cross-border, whether that's in-country? What do you see as the sort of things that are going to drive growth for DIB for you? And because as I mentioned, you're new at the helm here, so it would be really interesting to sort of see your mind and get a window into the future.
Thank you, Usman. So as you mentioned, it's been 6 months, and my first observation was that DIB was operating in Pakistan as a standalone entity, and therefore just like any other domestic bank, ignoring our USP of being a multinational bank. So The first thing was to recognize that as a multinational bank operating in Pakistan, we have a differentiated proposition to bring to the market, and we need to understand that and bring that to our customer base. So we started from that, and maybe I'll just talk a little bit about a few different verticals. So firstly, when I started my banking career in Pakistan with Bank of America, at that time it was primarily the Western banks that were providing the international financial services here in Pakistan. So but the situation has changed now, and MENA is a very big financial hub in the world, and far more relevant today for Pakistan than the Western institutions. So firstly, on a government level, we are a significant arranger of funding in the capital markets in the MENA region. So we are engaged with the Ministry of Finance to facilitate capital raising in the MENA capital markets. One example of that was DIB arranged a $1 billion syndicated loan from MENA banks just about 3 months ago, which was, I think, the first return to the capital markets by Pakistan in a long time. Nice. At the same time, there are upcoming maturities of the Euro dollar bond, which I think is in April of next year. So we think that the investor base in MENA is far more ready for Pakistan risk, and therefore we are looking to facilitate a sukuk issuance by the government of Pakistan to refinance that. So then moving on to the corporate and institutional space, as a foreign bank operating in Pakistan, there are a few acquisition situations going on right now. Some companies are up for sale, and some of the transactions involve a foreign ownership. So there is a need for offshore financing. That is something that we have a unique capability in as an international bank here in Pakistan. So we're looking to bring value to our customers in that respect. And again, it's a differentiated proposition that not many of our competitors, even those that are of a much bigger scale than us, can offer. And thirdly, when we come to the retail space, the UAE is perhaps the most important destination for Pakistanis looking to travel for pleasure, looking to travel for work, looking to invest. And DIB needs to become the primary financial bridge between Pakistan and UAE. And there's a lot of talk about remittances and trying to capture remittances through the formal banking channels. So one of the things that we want to do is make that process easier than it is today. And there was discussion about how to digitize a lot of solutions. So this is an area where we are looking to work with partners and also to provide a very simple, quick digital solution for the remittance directly from the remitter to their beneficiary. So that's a very significant project that we're working on which hopefully we will have some things to report in the coming months. So, and lastly, as you talked about the GCC and as an important and relevant market, we are a major GCC company and we are investing ourselves. So it's not just about trying to bridge financial flows between the international market and Pakistan. We are in the midst of significant expansion in Pakistan ourselves. And so it's a sign of our belief in the opportunity over here. And so, we're expanding across all of our sort of business segments. So I think it's a very interesting time for me to come to DIB. It's a brand with tremendous potential, which we haven't leveraged much in the past. And so as an incoming CEO, a very exciting time to be here. Yes, exciting times, of course. I mean, I was reading somewhere that Vladimir Lenin, the Marxist revolutionary head of government for Russia, at the turn of the 20th century, he said something very interesting. He said there are decades in which nothing happens, and then there are weeks in which decades happen. So there are, the times we live in, it feels like,
you know, the weeks are like decades. There's this rapid change, and seems like DIBP, Dubai Islamic Bank Pakistan, is really on top of some of those interesting initiatives in both Pakistan and the region, and it fills me with pride, at least, when regional financial institutions show confidence in Pakistan's financial sector. So really happy to hear that. So great things happening at State Life, or great things happening everywhere, and I'm going to take some commission from you guys for marketing everybody at the end of this panel. But moving on to Amjad Saab and NBP funds, a little bit of marketing for NBP funds, not that it needs a lot of it, but best asset manager in 2024 from CFA Society. AUMs have grown tremendously. I think they're over 500 billion at this point, from 420 to 540 by July 2025. Some great things happening at NBP. But I want Amjad Sahib for you to comment on Pakistan. And now that we've achieved what many would say is macroeconomic stability, certainly Aurangzeb Sahib this morning talked about macroeconomic stability, and we talked about the credit ratings, et cetera. But he said this is not a means, this is just a means to an end. So talking about that end now, right? How does Pakistan find growth moving forward, which is really what we're all after, productivity and growth, as Musaddiq Malik Saab also mentioned. So please, over to you.
Thank you, Usman. So economic stability, yes, we have achieved. If you look at the current account deficit, the trade deficit, the budget deficit, this is where the financial bleeding takes place generally. Those are much more manageable today as versus 3 years ago. And yes, inflation and interest rates and reserves have improved. So certainly stability is there, but we now need to move towards growth, because the economic growth rate has averaged about 2 to 3% over the last several years, and that's not enough, considering the way our population is growing, and more people are sort of joining the job market. We need to grow at at least 5-6%. So if we talk about the impediments of growth right now, I think one of the key impediments is the tax rates. I mean, the tax rates are very, very high now. I mean, if you look at the corporate tax rates in Pakistan, they're about 10% higher than, if you look at India or Bangladesh or other regional countries. If you look at the personal tax rate, they are as high as 59.5%. So almost 60% personal tax rate. And I mean, we have heard about the Nordic countries, Scandinavia, Norway, where the tax rates are 55%. But there, everything is covered, from birth to death, by the government. Here now our tax, so there the tax rates are 55%. Here it's almost 60% now. I mean, those have to come down. And also when we talk about the salaried class, we see a lot of professionals from our corporations moving towards the Middle East. And, yes, it brings in remittances, but also, we have a $450 billion economy right here. And we need professionals to manage those. But I think, many of them are moving out. So one of the large companies was telling me that if you go back a few years, the average experience of the employees was around 22 years. And today it's down to about 7-8 years. So a lot of experienced people moving out. So I think tax rates is one area. Now obviously if you reduce tax rates, your tax revenues go down. And we need to also manage the budget deficit. We don't want to borrow further. So we need to reduce government expenditure. I mean, if you just look at the subsidies given to state or enterprises, that's about ₹1 trillion. So we need to move quickly to privatize these state-owned enterprises, and that will reduce the subsidies and will create space where we're able to reduce the tax rate. And the second point is the utilities. The utility rates in Pakistan are about 20 to 30% higher than our regional competitors. And because of the high utility rates, because of the high taxation, our exports to GDP ratio is only 10%, and they are not growing. So we need to grow exports so we can grow the economy, and therefore the utility prices have to be also brought down. The taxation rates have to be brought down, And I think that will create an enabling environment where then businesses, domestic and foreign, will go for expansion. That will create employment, taxes for the government, and increase exports. So I think these are, but I think sort of, these are measures, but I think if you sort of go more deep, I think what two things we need to do: A, human development. I mean, if you look at, for example, our secondary school enrollment is around 45%. If you look at India and Bangladesh, it's 80%. And also the quality, you know, of what they are taught, especially in government schools. So it's a question of both quality and the fact that 25 million children are out of school. So I think education is something we need to focus on, because even if you go back to China and go back to 1950, their secondary school enrollment was around 25–30%. Today it's around 99%. And that, you know, all the things we see in China today, all the development, all the technology, it all started with investing in education, which they did, you know, around 1950s. And the second thing is population. You know, population is growing twice the rate of Bangladesh and India and other countries, Malaysia. And I mean, this is a, you know, sort of a time bomb we are sitting on, the way population is growing. And then, you know, to provide them housing, to provide them education, to provide them transportation, to provide them jobs. I think that's a big challenge. So I think we need to focus on education and population planning, sort of for the medium term. But in the short term, we need to somehow bring down the tax rates and utility prices by privatizing and reducing the size of the government, which is quite phenomenal in Pakistan.
You've touched upon at least two areas that I want to develop further in our conversation, and I'm going to bring in Fatma on the talent and people side. But before that, I'm going to go to Umar Hassan Khan Saab, who's been waiting patiently. Amjad Saab also touched upon another topic, which is exports, right? And one of the key things that is going to help create an export-driven growth, as the finance minister talks about, as the rest of the members of the government talk about, that we really need to increase the export base, create an export surplus. But there's headwinds. Utility cost, as Amjad Saab mentioned, is one of the big ones, right? The other costs are, you know, FX and availability of FX to import components. Dollars has been doing some remarkable things and has been investing, and we want local investors to continue to invest and grow. And we've seen great examples. My wife the other day we were somewhere in Europe, and she was looking at bags, as sometimes spouses do, and she came upon this really beautiful bag, really remarkable. It, you know, looked like one of those tops kind of bags, and it was a Turkish bag, right? So the Turks have come a long way, not just in fashion, but also in equipment, in household goods, in marble. I mean, you name it, right? I import chairs from there and furniture from there from my stores in the UAE. So the Turks have a fantastic example. So what can we learn, or what does Dollars learn or is learning about creating export opportunities from perhaps the Turks or any other place that you think is a model worth emulating?
Right, thank you, Usman. And first of all, I totally agree with whatever Dr. Amjad just said. I think these are the core issues. I think these are some of the core issues that need to be addressed before anything else happens. And the economy really needs to grow at 6 to 7% if you have to absorb about 2 to 3 million people which are coming into the job market every year. But unfortunately, the problem is every time you hit 6 to 7%, we run out of dollars and we get into that boom and bust cycle. So if you have to avoid that bust cycle this time, I think we have to look around the world as to what's happened. Every economy or every country which has been able to come out of this abject poverty or these cycles have actually based their growth mostly on building a very robust and strong export model. Without that, it just isn't possible. Like you said, Dr. Saab just said, I think Pakistan's exports are currently at about 10% of GDP. In the 90s, it was around 15 to 16%. So rather than going up, we've actually moved in the wrong direction. And as we're talking about course correction, I think we really need to understand how we're going to course correct to get this back. I think one of the key issues, and I'll come to the Turkish, I'll use Turkey as a case study, but let me tell you why I'm saying that. I think one of the key things we need to understand, and that the world is very rapidly moving away from multilateralism to maybe regionalism or having bilateralism built into how they operate. And by that what I mean is that there is a lot more trade happening through FTAs than ever before. According to, I think, the WTO numbers, almost 50% of the global trade that's happening today is under FTAs, right? And this is just the numbers that are actually reported to WTO. The actual number could be higher. And this is just the trade in goods. If we bring in services, which are very difficult to track, this number would be much higher than 50%. Pakistan today only has about 20% of our foreign trade against the 10 FTAs that we have. And a large part of that is just the GSP plus that we have with the EU, which is not a bilateral trade agreement. It's just a unilateral thing where they're giving access in return for us signing on some treaties. So it's not really helping us. So with globally, there are 350 FTAs that are in play these days. Pakistan only has 10, of which only one is any effective FTA, which is the Chinese FTA. Everything else has really not helped us in any way. So if Pakistan has to, and if we have to increase our exports, I think one of my view is that we really need to focus on trying to sign some very effective and deep FTAs, which actually help us grow. And why I said I'll use the Turkish example to make my point. If you look at the Turkish economy, in the year 94-95, the exports were around $23 billion, which was around, at that time, about 20% of their GDP. By 2004, that number had jumped to $100 billion and was about 24-25% of the GDP. Last year, 24, Turkey closed their exports at $372 billion and at 30% of their GDP. There's a reason I've used these years, and it's not by chance that all this has happened. In 1994, Turkey signed their first custom union agreement with the EU, which granted them tariff-free access to the entire European Union. But in return for that, they had to give tariff-free access to European companies as well. And at the time, the entire Turkish economy and the industry was up in arms as to what the government has done. But the Prime Minister at that time, I forget her name, she was a lady, she apparently called the entire industry into a room and she tried to explain to them, look, I've done a big favor to you. This will make you more efficient. You'll learn to compete with the world, and give it 10 years and we'll be talking numbers. And that's exactly what happened. In the first 10 years, from 1994 to 2004, the number jumped from 23 billion to 100 billion, right? Only because of that one agreement that they signed. As a part of that agreement, what Turkey was required to do was sign FTAs with all the trading partners of EU, which were 22. So Turkey actually started on signing those 22 FTAs because while agreeing on the custom union agreement, they had put a clause in that we don't want the Turkish companies to be left out of the rest of the world. So they signed 22 FTAs, and now they have about 25 FTAs working for them. So by 2004, between the EU, the custom union agreement, and about 10 or 12 that signed in the first 10 years, it took them to 100 billion. In 2004, the Turkish government came up with a new policy strategy, and they call it Turk quality. Which is where the government is now working with the private sector, helping them create brands. What their view was, we don't want to be just suppliers of commodities or products. We want to create Turkish brands, and which is what you just talked about as well. And through that program of Turk quality, the government was actually working very closely with the private sector, helping them achieve those quality standards, helping them create markets, helping them, getting them exim insurances or financing or whatever that was required to grow and create brands globally. Our own company got created because of that globally. Right? Our brand was Arçelik in Turkey. But our global brand Beko came out of this entire policy. And today Beko is the largest home appliances brand in Europe and is the second largest home appliances brand in the world. And it's only happened because of these FTAs and because of this Quality program that started. So from 2004, when Quality came in, and they were at 100 billion, they've reached 372 billion. Now my point is that without understanding this success story, and it's so easy to copy, it's just a question of doing it. And when I say it's easy to copy, the Turkish government has on numerous occasions asked the Pakistani government that let us help you do that. But unfortunately, we've not taken them up on that offer. The Azerbaijan president met the Turkish president 2 years ago in 23 and requested him to help him. Since the beginning of 2004, two of the senior most trade specialists of Turkey are sitting in Azerbaijan, helping them develop exactly the same model for them. It's because Azerbaijan wanted to move away from just being an oil exporter to a large scale exporter. So my point is, so the lesson that we need to learn and the course correction that needs to be done has got to be by signing FTAs, because if we have to achieve the 6 to 7% growth, if we have to create enough jobs for the youth that's coming in, we will need to grow. And if we need to grow, we need the dollars. Borrowing dollars will never get us enough dollars to grow the way we want to grow. So exports has to be a priority. And if we have to export, FTAs is got to be the future. And that's a serious course correction. It needs to be done, because just by asking the private sector to start exporting, it's not going to happen. The government's got to partner with the private sector, understand the markets, get the proper trade specialists in, and sign very effective and deep FTAs, which will actually help our exports to grow.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I really love about Nutshell events is that you get a lot of very interesting advice, and sometimes you get these policy prescriptions that, as you mentioned, Umar Saab, seems so obvious and seems so simple, but it doesn't happen, and perhaps that's also because of the will. My Aikido coach, which is a martial arts, used to say there's pleasure beyond the pain when you used to be training in the throes of it. But you have to get to that end state and go through that short-term pain. And Turkey did that by signing the FTAs, taking on that internal vested interests, sort of shouting, "Kisi ki dum pe pair rakha hai," so they're upset about it, but he just told them, let's be patient and have the will to not succumb to short-termism and look at things in the longer term. And if we do that, a lot of things can change. And unfortunately, that's been the story of a lot of our governments, that there's just this there isn't the unrelenting will to see through the painful reforms, right? So yeah, thank you very much for that. That's very illuminating. Fatma, I'm going to come back to you and ask a question that I think we talk about from time to time, which is Pakistani talent. Because one of the things that we talked about was, Dr. Amjad mentioned that we need to invest in education and productivity. And one of the things that we look at when you're not even looking at AI and technology is, are we ready to, or do we have the talent base in Pakistan, or are we creating that talent base to be able to help us leapfrog into the next phase of our growth? So how has Abacus's experience been? Are the universities turning out the right kind of talent? If they're not, what initiatives would you say are low-hanging fruit that should be taken to create AI-ready talent in this country to help us with our productivity and growth and course correct, as Umar Saab was saying as well?
That's a very challenging question.
Do your best.
And I think all of the speakers earlier as well, and those on this panel, would agree that the human capital development should be at the first and foremost heart of the strategy, if we are to look at putting ourselves onto the growth path. But I would like to take a step back, because obviously technology, what I spoke about, and we're looking at $1 trillion, global addressable market over here, and where is Pakistan in that? And fundamentally, it is the human capital and the capability of the human capital or capacity that we have that will actually, those are the nations that will rise, and those are the nations that will go to the next level. And there are many more examples. Aapne bhi baat ki in terms of some of the countries, and my fellow panelists have also said that, where the trajectory has been, we talk about the BRICS, but there's the next level of countries where just the next 8 after the BRICS, where you have Indonesia and you have South Africa and Egypt and etc., 3-4 other countries. They're also on a path to sustainable growth. So the question comes back is, what is stopping us from being on that growth path? And I feel that at this point in time, I believe that we're still course correcting. I guess that's the theme of this particular conference as well. But there's much more correction that is required unless the human capital development is also part of the roadmap, which it is. I mean, the good news is that some of the policy reform and some of the roadmaps that have been communicated, at least by the Ministry of IT and Telecom, where they're saying digital skills and capacity building should be at the heart of what the policy and governance is being developed and enacted as well. It is there, it's on track, but with human capital development, there have to be job opportunities. There have to be employable resources, as well as the supply and demand of how is the ecosystem developing. We talked about the poverty line earlier as well, and Dr. Amjad also mentioned that as well. The second is, as organizations course correct, are there enough jobs to go about? What are we doing in terms of the investment that is required, investment in businesses and investment in our human capital as well? So it is fundamentally what I feel is, when I go and talk to young men and women, the next workforce, the next generation that is coming into the workforce, what are they thinking? We need to understand what they're thinking. What opportunities are they looking for? What kind of skill set and capacity are they bringing to the table? And I'm actually heartened by the next generation of workforce, because I feel they're very authentic. They're very on point. They have this passion. They have this sense of purpose. The downside is they don't want to be associated with an organization for more than too many, 2-3 years. But that's fine. I mean, I think we also have to change the paradigm. We have to rethink the way organizations are going to sustain themselves. But unless we invest greatly in terms of the relevant skill set, which is in terms of the technology conversation, whether you talk about AI capability, it's not coding anymore. You look at cybersecurity, you look at data analytical skills, you look at business processes and how the workflow management is going to be. These are intrinsic skills, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you are a business leader, or you're owning the, but at the end of the day, we still have 26 million people out of, 26 million children out of schools. There is a great effort that is being done by the development sector, by the NGOs, as well as private schools, but it's not enough. These children will come into they would need jobs, but the livelihoods will not be from an educated perspective. So it's sort of a very challenging question, because on one hand, the audience that I interact with, those that we are identifying as potential colleagues in our organization, as the abacus ecosystem, or within our clients, it's a different domain altogether. And then you look at a countrywide challenge and you say, these children are out of school. What kind of value will they add? And if they're not adding value, then we have the population growth issue as well. So you have the good news on one side. This is one of the conversations I was having earlier very briefly with some of our friends in the audience as well. I said, on one side, the optics, the news is good. The macroeconomic indicators indicate upward trajectory. But the grassroots, there seems to be a bit of a gap in terms of purchasing power. So unless we correct that, the concept or the conversation in sustainable growth is a bit tricky.
Right.
And the infrastructure, the way the ecosystem is developing, learning from the region, learning from the case studies and good wins, whether it's Indonesia or Singapore or Malaysia or even closer to home as well, what is it that they got right? And one of the things that does emerge is consistency.
Right.
So consistency of policy, consistency of, we've put this, like in the words of Qaid-e-Azam as well, you take a decision and you make it right. So let's take a decision, say these are our top 5 priorities, and then make that work consistently, no matter what the political dialogue is. So I feel the governance around it is where the greatest challenge is.
Right.
And human capital will continue to flee if you don't give them that sense of continuity and that sense of there are opportunities, and it's beyond, it's not just a matter of survival, it's a matter of creating sustainable growth.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Fatma. Lightning round, very quickly. Farooq, starting with you, and I want to end on a note of hope and optimism. What is making you most hopeful in 2026 or for the future? What's one sentence, one word, lightning round? Go, Farooq. What are you most hopeful about?
I think the repositioning and international renaissance that Pakistan is going through right now, but it's up to us, how do we take advantage of that?
Absolutely. Dr. Saab?
I see a lot of businesses going into agriculture, and I think there's a lot of potential in agriculture that has never been so I think industrialists going back to agriculture, livestock, and so on. So I think that can create export surplus for us.
Absolutely.
As well as meet the local need.
Add value to the agriculture, absolutely, yes.
Interoperability and the ability to collaborate on a regional level. I think that's very important for Pakistan to hone into understanding what are the dynamics of other countries, their ecosystem, their governance model, their regulatory, especially I talk from a technology perspective, because they have to talk to each other. And secondly, I would say in terms of focusing on definitely human capital development, but relevant to where are we looking at Pakistan in 5 years to 10 years time.
Right. Umar sir?
I think my hope is that now that we've achieved the macroeconomic stability, the trickle-down effects will start coming in at the micro level, with purchasing powers coming back, and more domestic investment coming back into industry, and as a result, FDI as well.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Very briefly, I'd say the reinvigoration of brand Pakistan.
Brand Pakistan.
And hopefully that we recognize it as this is it. Hopefully we can't fall any further, we can't go any further down. And there are some opportunities interlinked, some geopolitical reasons, some circumstantial, but now is the time for us to make the most out of it. And lastly, yes, the resilience of the people of Pakistan. They've come through a lot more. Inshallah, they'll come through this as well.
Inshallah. Thank you very much. I think I'll just end by saying, I don't know why all my quotes today are Russia-focused, but Gorbachev said, life punishes those who come late. And I would add to that, and stay too long. So I think that wraps up our panel. Thank you very much for your intent and patient listening. I would have loved to include some questions, but we won't be able to do that right now. I think we can, we'll hand it over to, okay, we can? Okay, so we can take a question at least, or maybe two, if there's any eager questions in the audience. Anyone? Oh, there's one over there. And please, if I may encourage you to keep it concise.
Hi, my name is Fauzia Janjua. I'm also from the banking fraternity and also from academia. My question is, I think, very thought-provoking and insightful session since morning. So how do you put cybersecurity and different risks, like we are seeing climate change, and you talked about, sir, farming, agriculture, and value chain. So how do you relate to the risks, the different risks, which you can foresee with respect to brain drain from the country, with respect to cybersecurity, with respect to these climatic changes that are impacting different industries and sectors?
Okay, so who would like to, Dr. Saab, how about I ask you to address that, risks?
Well, I think in terms of, the key economic risks, which is sort of, as I said, current account and budget deficit bleeding, which is eating your reserves, taking it to a default scenario. So we are hopefully, out of that, but I think, the risk that I see, still our debt ratio is very high. 40% of our budget is going into debt servicing. That's a very high risk, that I see. Population growth is a very high risk that I see. Government pensions, which are unfunded, is still a very high risk that I see. Certainly, there are a lot of these risks, but I think there has to be some vision on the top, to try to address those matters.
Shoaib, would you like to add something? Go ahead.
Financial risks, we also foresee, insurance, I think I would like to hear from you.
Yes, I'll take that for you. No, you're absolutely right. Listen, if we just, you highlighted a couple of things from, brain drain to natural disasters. Let's focus on natural disaster first, and I'll touch on the brain drain as well. You see, the capacity with climate change is coming, it is here already, it is already impacting us. We have to institutionalize how we defend ourselves against it. There are products, there are solutions out there, and we have to put it in that concept. So to give you a very simple example of how easily we can do it, if we just institutionalize this and bring it together. If you look at the floods that happened earlier this year, but especially the ones that happened in 22, everybody would remember the sight of entire hotels and buildings floating down the river Indus. There was nothing wrong with the construction quality of the hotel building, because the entire structure as it is was flowing down. What was wrong was that it was built on flood banks. Same thing happened this year when the Ravi River overflooded. Now you see, if we simply take, and I say simple because it is simple, you have development authorities in every city, in every zone, in every region. You link up with the approval that the development authority gives to commercialize any building, be it a hotel or a plaza, link it to insurance, that it should be meeting all insurance requirements. So insurance is mandatory, and all the safety requirements should be met, from fire safety to construction safety to whether it is legally constructed on the right ground. Unless it has that approval, the development authority will not give its approval, hence it cannot start its business. It's a little fix, because all these things happen in isolation. We're just talking about bringing it together. So if the insurance company refuses to give insurance because the risk is too high, because something illegal is being done, then the development authority will not give its approval for the commercial activity to begin. And it solves the problem very easily. And the two institutions exist in Pakistan, it's just interlinking them. So that's a very small example of how we can get it right. It doesn't take much. We don't need millions of dollars of investment over here. Second, you spoke about brain drain. We can't stop that. Listen, we're all heading organizations, and we all suffer with, as the lady said there, people leave in 2-3 years. But if we really start to think about it, right now there's a whole buzz that the human resource goes out, they send remittances back in, and that's good for the economy. But I believe that is short term. If you really start to institutionalize it in terms of building, what are we exporting? We're not exporting human capital necessarily, we're exporting financial services. These people are going out, working in IT sectors, financial services sectors around the world in GCC. I went to Riyadh recently for an actuarial conference. I'm an actuary by profession. More than 50% of the kids there were Pakistanis, working all across GCC. So we are exporting financial services effectively. What do we need to do if we can convince those same companies to set their hubs in Pakistan, and we export that financial services? We get to retain the skill set, we get to enhance the skill set of the people over here, and at the same time export financial services to improve our economy. So just a little few steps that we need to take, and I am hopeful about the right conversations happening, the right questions being asked.
On that very optimistic and hopeful note, we'll hand it over to Farooq.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Usman Saab. And ladies and gentlemen, that was the session on what's shaping Pakistan's new growth story. very enlightening discussion. Can we have a big round of applause for our panelists, please? Thank you. I know the post-lunch sessions are usually a bit slow, but thank you very much for being a lively audience. The takeaways from this session, many. We spoke about artificial intelligence, the digital transformation, how it's not being destructive, the focus on domestic market, providing security, the belief in Pakistan. I think that was one of the most important takeaways. We need to believe in Pakistan. We need to reiterate our belief in our identity, which is Pakistan. And as Yusuf Usman Sahab very rightly said, that there are decades in which nothing happens. And then there are weeks in which decades happen. So I think we are living in very exciting times. A lot of things happening on a daily basis. There's tax rate rationalization which is being in effect. The importance of free trade agreements in terms of increasing our exports. And we need to prioritize top 5 priorities, work towards it, and we need to develop human capital. So ladies and gentlemen, now before we wrap up this session, we need to present the souvenirs, and for that I'd like to call on stage Ms. Rabia Ahmed, the Chief Executive Officer of Nutshell, Ms. Unaiza Ali, the Chief Operating Officer, Nutshell, Middle East, Nutshell, and I would like to call upon Mr. Mujib Zahoor, who is the Managing Director, Standard & Poor Global Pakistan, to kindly do the honors and present souvenirs to the panelists, please. Okay, Mohammad Ali Gulfraz Sahab, the Chief Executive Officer of the Dubai Islamic Bank, has left. He had to attend an urgent meeting. We've already given him the souvenir. So I'd like to request Fatma Asad Saeed, the Chief Executive Officer, Abacus, to kindly receive a souvenir from the Honorable Mr. Mujib Zahoor, the Managing Director, S&P Global Pakistan. Mr. Shoaib Javed Hussain, the Chief Executive Officer, State Life Insurance Corporation of Pakistan. A very engaging discussion. Dr. Amjad Waheed, the Chief Executive Officer of NBP Funds. Dr. Amjad Waheed, leading the NBP Funds. Mr. Umar Ehsan Khan, the Chief Executive Officer, Dollans Group. Mr. Umar Ehsan Khan, CEO, Dollans. Mr. Farooq H. Khan, the Chief Financial Officer, Jazz. Mr. Farooq H. Khan, the Chief Financial Officer, Jazz. And finally, Mr. Usman Yusuf, the Director, Nutshell Group, for moderating this session in a very, very effective way. Thank you very much, Mr. Usman Yusuf. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we'll have the group photograph. So I'd request all the guests to be on the stage for the group photograph. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. So that wraps up the third session, which was a dialogue on what's shaping Pakistan's new growth story. I'd like to thank all the panelists and the moderator and the guests for joining us on stage. We will begin the fourth session shortly. Shah.
We have a very interesting talk coming up. I'll request everyone to please be seated. We're going to reimagine intelligence, as they say. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could please request you to take your seats for our next session. Intelligence Reimagined, Shaping the Digital Future of Businesses. So intelligence has gained a much wider definition in this era, with it being artificial also. The neural network is busy bringing in the disruptions as we progress, and we keep learning again and again. We are talking about phygital enterprises, we are talking about human ingenuity, and we are talking about algorithmic precision. How does this all coexist and yet defines businesses as they take new names and new shapes? For this very interesting discussion, we have an exciting panel. If I may request the esteemed panelists to please start joining us on stage. I'll start with Lasha Tabidze, Global Chief Digital Operations Officer, WION. If I could request all present in the hall to please put their hands together for this lovely panel coming up. Very happy to see a very tech-oriented panel coming up on stage now, because Tech Co, as we call it, now defines everything that we do. Joining Lasha on stage is Nasir Akhtar, Chairman, Infotech Group. Thank you, Nasir Saab. We have Fahad Zahid, Interim Country Managing Director, SAP Pakistan and Bahrain. We have Mohammad Mohtasim Jangra Sahab, Director Business, Amina and USA TMC Private Limited. And Ayub Zakori, Chief Executive Officer, Zakori Group. The session will be moderated by Mujib Zahoor, Managing Director, S&P Global Pakistan. So a lot of data, a lot of tech, and a lot of intelligence being redefined. Over to you, Mujib.
Can you check yours? Does it work? All right. I think now we have the mics working. If everybody can settle down, we'll get started. Thank you to my fellow panel members for joining this afternoon. We're going to spend the next 60 minutes talking about what are some key trends around digital facing different businesses. As was mentioned in the introduction, we have a lot of different segments from technology represented on the panel today. So looking forward to some exciting perspectives coming from each of the areas. We're also going to keep it interesting and ask for audience questions during the panel. So if you're listening to us and you have a question around these themes, please prepare it, and we'll come to you after the first round and get some questions in. I'll just go down, starting from Fahad, from you, and just drive right in to, so when we talk about the various aspects around digital, how in your business are some opportunities coming up in this theme and in this area that you're looking at from the next, 24 to 36 months perspective?
Yeah. Hello. Yeah. So I think, the latest new trends that we are seeing in the world of technology is artificial intelligence, what we are hearing throughout the day. And then there is robotic process automation, and then there is data platform. So as SAP and the market, the way we see it, we don't just see that as a new trend, but this is actually the continuous trend that we have been following from a decade, which in summary is very clear that the ideal enterprise that we want should be an intelligent and a sustainable enterprise. Just to define what is an intelligent enterprise, so there are basically three aspects. So one is that every decision that leaders are making should be data driven. The second is majority of the processes within the organization should be automated. And last but not the least is the organization should be sustainable. The way we have divided our strategy, basically this is based on the 4 core principles, keeping in mind the next decade that we are seeing. So what we have started doing is that all the products that we used to have and we are embedding AI in those solutions. Rather than customer taking another separate strategy for AI, we are giving the customers the embedded AI within the solutions. And you will be glad to know that we have customers in Pakistan who are using AI for demand forecasting, for working capital optimization. I was having a discussion with some colleagues out there. There are many interviews, the first interview or a recruiter interview that is happening right now, it is actually being done with AI. Yeah. And you will be surprised to know that it is very hard to predict whether there is an actual person there or not. The second pillar of our strategy is that we have a lot of data. So we have structured data coming from the ERP and the business solutions that all of us have been using. However, there is a lot of raw data that is coming. For example, data coming from the social media platforms, the data coming from the retail solutions. Now the main thing that every customer wants is to actually combine the business data with the raw data. And that is what we are working with the customers, where a single platform will be able to hold the business data and the raw data in order to define the actual market analysis that is the requirement coming from every customer. The third is, I think even the company like SAP has realized that it is not possible for any company to cater all the industry requirements or all the country requirements. And that's why we are coming up with a co-innovation program where we are working with the local partners and the local customers to actually come work with us and develop solution with us. This will actually help us to cater the majority of the processes that are required in a specific market or a specific industry, but at the same point of time, it can be a good source of revenue for our partners and our customers to actually go out there. Last but not the least, all of this we have discussed now is happening is that we must have started hearing the news a decade ago or 5 years ago that everything is going on cloud. And I believe the reason why we are here discussing AI and all this business analytics is because there was a movement to cloud. So majority of the customers are moving to cloud. There was a question from the panel related to the cyber security. I believe 2-3 years back, Pakistan might not was in the map where cyber security attacks were happening, but this is becoming a reality. So the security of the border is very important, but at the same point of time, the security of your internal systems are very important, and that is why the customers are moving to cloud with us. In summary, our strategy is based on 3 points, which is AI, data, and cloud, combined together to make our customers an intelligent and sustainable enterprise.
Lovely. Thank you, Fahad. I think very interesting point around collaborating with customers and what traditionally is perceived perhaps as competition also. We'll come back to that maybe in the next round. Nasir Saab, over to you. Infotech, how do you see digital technologies and these new trends shaping your business over the next couple of years?
It was, yeah, we were discussing when I was sitting in the audience, the amount of opportunities. I'm talking about technology, $5.5 trillion annual market size, and technology outpaced oil and gas sector about 3 years ago. So that still is hovering around less than $5 trillion. So looking at the opportunity size, I find myself like a blind dog in a meat house, what to pick up and what to not. And it's all about the capacity and how sharply you define your target markets, how intelligently you reach out to your customer and position. It's all about that. I mean, you being an American company, you know how it works. So I'll give you my example. Ever since we started applying research, data, intelligence, which now is broadly known as AI, but these things have been there for ages, and we have been. So it took us about 15 years to capture 5 markets for our star products, which is trading platform, and we are head on with the likes of NASDAQ and London Stock Exchange. We are beating them right, left, and center, and to some extent TCS, Tata Consulting also. So we were struggling for about 10-15 years. We could only capture about 5 markets in 15 years. But the moment we sat down, we said, I mean, the whole world is applying data, intelligence in positioning, finding channels to reach out. So here we go. In the last 5 years, we captured another 15 markets. So that's the power of data and intelligence. That is the new currency, and that is the new norms. And it does not apply just on our businesses, but overall on societies and countries and economies. I mean, there is a new word which sums up everything. Technology is the operating system for modern economies. That's it. That says it all. Yep. I think nothing left. I mean, if now we at a policy level or at execution level in private sector or in public sector, if we ignore this thing, that is up to us. But the reality is that it's going to be there, and currencies are going to be digital, and technology is going to be the operating system for economies.
Fantastic, thank you. I think we'll come back a little bit and get more specifics on how Infotech has been able to penetrate global markets. What were some of those underlying principles? Because I think, to your point, they apply across industries. A lot of time we hear this notion, especially in Pakistan, that the opportunity is less, or we don't have avenues to grow, etc. Your story, as well as I think pretty much everybody that you see sitting up front, has a very different view or experience from their businesses. So would love to get more detail into that. Mustasim, over to you. If you can share a little bit about at TMC how things are progressing, and what are some trends that are going to shape your future strategies?
Thank you so much. So TMC is born and brought up as an ERP company. So technology has always been the bedrock of what we do. Over the years, we have acquired hundreds and thousands of customers, and with the trends that are changing, we feel that we can actually use all that body of knowledge to do transformative work for the industry that we work with already. There's a very important aspect of unlearning and learning all over again, because if our people and us, we hold on to the previous knowledge which we had very tightly, I mean, we can't just keep pace with the change that is happening. So that's why what we have been doing is we have identified a pool of people from the existing team and complemented them with some fresh blood from the market who are not changed to the older ways of doing work. And that combination helps us create the right team to do the innovation around what we do already. Remember, ERP is all about processes, right? And all this AI, the application is in the process itself. So if you don't unlock the process with the newer technology, I mean, what will you do with all the technology out there? I mean, you have all the compute, all those machine learning models, but if there's no problem to solve, then there's no impact. And that's what we are trying to do. We are trying to create that high performance team within our setup, which is not bounded by the old mindset, and they are open to innovate. And we are thankful to all our customers out there who are working with us. So the co-innovation that Fahad said, that's actually happening, and it's thanks to all the customers in Pakistan who are at the forefront of that, who are trying to co-innovate with us, trying to solve daily problems that they face, and try to see, you know, if they can solve using the technology out there, right? And it's combination of everything. I mean, it could be IoTs, it could be AI, it could be machine learning models, it could be several other things, right? I mean, I can throw many jargons, but that's not the purpose, right? Also, there's very important aspect is people and change. There's fear when it comes to technology adoption, and it's always been there, right? There's a lot of fear around AI that people face, and then that's why they hold back. And I'm talking about the customers, the people who will be impacted in a positive way. But if they're not educated well, if they are not informed well, if they are not evangelized, they will eventually become the wall that stops that innovation. So we also are trying to establish that management consulting division, which is focusing on change around the technology itself. And I feel that, you know, technology cannot be just, you know, you pick a system, you apply in any organization. It has to be much more ingrained. There has to be much more handshake with the business, with the new technology, because there's no set pattern in these new technologies. You have to solve problem in a bespoke fashion, right? And that's why that handshake has to happen. That's why the change and those change agents and those change processes have a very key place in the whole setup and the rollout of technology.
Yeah, no, very interesting. I think you brought in a very good perspective around how on the outsides of technology, these behaviors and skills are equally important, because if you don't prepare your teams and your businesses as well as your strategy for customer engagement appropriately, then no matter how good of a tool or technology you have, whether it's AI enabled, whether it is whatever is going to come next after AI enabled, it's not going to do any good. We'll peel that a little bit more maybe in the next round. I want to move to Ayub and bring in a slightly different perspective. I think so far what you've heard is a lot more global use case being applied locally. You will, I think, bring in a different perspective, but would love to hear your thoughts on how in your area some of these trends, whether it's Gen AI or some of these new digital trends are shaping your business strategy over the next few years.
Am I audible?
Yep,
yeah.
Good now.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Mujib, thank you for the question, and I will actually like to go a bit thoda sa piche, if you allow, with your permission. So the audience can actually understand when how technology is very close to me, and I'm glad my wife is not here, because what I'm about to say, she might kill me. I'm in love with the technology. Because today, if I'm here sitting in front of you, talking to you guys, technology is something that has given me that freedom. So my background is I'm a third generation entrepreneur. My father was an industrialist, my grandfather was an industrialist, but I myself, alhamdulillah, by the grace of Allah, I'm a self-made entrepreneur. And I started from the very scratch, from the very beginning, from the very rock bottom. And they say that once you actually build everything brick by your hands, by yourself, so you're actually very possessive about, sorry, I will actually correct myself, protective about it. Possessive would not be the right word. So I'm very protective about my business. So growing to this point, being the largest conglomerate from KP, and since we are at the tail end of the country, so we have very unique set of challenges which are not compared to the rest of the country, specifically KLI, when we speak about the rest of the country. So there was a point, Mujib, when I used to like work from 6 in the morning till 9 in the evening. I never had an opportunity to spend time with my kids and everything, and I was like focused that, okay, fine, I have to deal with everything myself, I have to go into the rock bottom, har ek cheez ko khud dekhna hai. Then there came a point, and like conferences like these, meeting people, it kind of gave me the, we are in Peshawar, so Peshawar, you have been to Peshawar, it has grown over the past decade, I would actually say. Like, jo ek, aapka jo ek wo hota hai na, it's not something just pe hame itna zyada exposure, I would actually say. So the exposure that we got is over the last 1 decade. So we were very protective. We were actually grown up in a society, in a family, where we were told, okay, fine, you're not supposed to share your information. That will be stolen away from you, stolen away from you. So going forward, I started to think, if I really want to grow and if I want to build a legacy, it has to be something, okay, fine, when I die, I don't want my business to die. It has to stay there for my kids, for the 3,000 people, for the 3,000 family members that I have now that are working for Zakodi Group, alhamdulillah. So I went for SAP. SAP is one of the, yahan pe bhi main dekh raha hu, basically it's here. So trust me, when we converted to that, and the transformation was a hell of a journey, there was a lot of resistance. Then I always say it's not only about technology, it's about embedding people with it. Convincing everyone कि जी आप लोगों ने इस technology को use भी करना है, and this is for the betterment of you. It is for the betterment of the company, it is for the betterment of the group. So going forward, like I said, it gave me the freedom to come here, sit with you, because of the palm of my laptop or like my iPad, I can actually easily do that. Now going forward, what we are actually looking forward to, since we were talking about artificial intelligence, and I told you that we are a conglomerate, so we are different businesses all over the country, and alhamdulillah, by the grace of Allah, next year we're going international as well. So one of our core businesses is in the food industry. And in the food industry, we are the fastest growing brand in Pakistan with the name of Ranchers. So we have a huge challenge of making sure that the resources that we have, they're actually performing to the best of their ability. They are actually doing what they're told to do, what they're trained to do in a timely manner. So humanly, it's not possible to be, like we have like more than 24 units across the country right now. So for me, or even for like, for anyone in this room, it's not possible we can install screens and cameras everywhere and we are going to like monitor them, every move of them. Right. So what we have done, there was a startup, it's in Peshawar-based startup. It's from NIC, and we have actually started working with them. And what they're doing for us is, they're developing an app for us, which is going to we're going to give them the KPIs of the staff. Let's suppose we have the front-end staff, then we have the kitchen, back-end staff. So the KPIs, that if there is a waiter, how many orders is he serving, how many, how much time did he deliver, the kitchen staff, how long did it take them to make to assemble a burger or pizza or something like that. So with that, we'll be able to determine the productivity of that unit as well, of that person as well. So there is a lot that we're actually doing right now. If I start talking about that, because this is just one domain, but technology has changed our life.
Yeah. No, I think yours is a very interesting and relevant experience, because you talked about it already, how you took something which was very traditional, something that had perhaps at one point not a lot to do with technology, and now you're embedding some of these newer insights into your various businesses. So thank you for sharing that. Lasha, coming to you, your title is the one most relevant for this panel. You head up digital operations for Vion. So I think perhaps a pertinent question more for you. So when you look at, from your vantage point, what are some trends that you see, not just for your organization, but generally in this space that everybody here in the audience and even us should be aware of?
Thanks a lot. And first of all, I think starting from today morning, it's very good discussions, and it was kind of a logical continuation that we should sit and speak about the tech, what's happening. Because look, like what I heard now, and one of the most important things is that AI and agentic AI, it's not about just helping the applications or digital. It's a fact that next tech will be created by Gen AI and will be created by AI. And going forward, like we see lots of robotics happening around the world, lots of different kind of tech getting into the industry. But the most important is how we create intelligence and data for this next generation of tech. For us, and here I'm not speaking just about Pakistan, because I'm definitely very proud what we as JAS do here in the country. But outside Pakistan footprint, we tapped into the industries like healthcare, like ride-hailing, e-commerce, many others. And as you've asked, my answer is, so I already see that 40 up to 50% of the whole code is already done by AI. And that gives me like all this sense to say that in my perspective, how I see all over the world things happening, that tech will be created by tech in the future. That's very important. Another thing what we as Vion and myself personally, we always say, drive and stay behind is that if we reimagine the tech, if we reimagine how the technology goes forward, we have to still at least try to have human in the center. It's very, very important. Because when the intelligence and tech touches the lives and livelihoods and not just balance sheet of the company, and I can give you lots of examples, and lots of examples were here, to be more efficient, to have lower cost, to be faster. But when it touches the real lives and livelihoods and really changes for the good, then you are really making digital transformation. And at that point, when this is very clear for the companies, this is very clear for the country, you start to think differently about how to use this tech. Of course, shame on us, everyone in any industry. I won't now close myself for telecom or for fintech or anything else. Shame on us if we don't use the AI. Some time ago, like when someone was asking me, like when you started to use AI in Vion, we were using AI in network optimization 12, 13 years ago. But it was different type of AI. This was machine learning, like what we were using. But now we're speaking about agents speaking in Urdu or any other language, helping a teacher to be the best teacher somewhere in the village in Pakistan, to have the best knowledge. That's what we are speaking about. So overall, of course, like echoing my co-panelists here, what I can say is that tech is not just changing, tech will be creating the next tech. So we have to make sure that our human centricity and ethical relation to the tech stays at the core. Yeah. That would be my reflection on the question.
Fantastic. No, I'm really glad. I was listening to the last couple of panels. There was a conversation around Gen AI, but I think agentic hasn't come up in the day so far. I missed the earlier part of the day, so I'm not sure. That's something as a data and technology company, I couldn't agree more with you. That use case is where a lot of enhancement, efficiency, and impact is getting created in our space as well. And I think the other point that you made is absolutely spot on. Only when technology, any technology throughout history, and in this day and age, AI, when it starts impacting humans and their experiences, elevating them, making their lives better, whether it's in their work, whether it's in their education, whether it is, whether it's in healthcare, I think that is when you sort of start seeing its true impact. Just, we're going to come to the audience for the next round of questions, but just some interesting data points for everybody. Shameless plug, we at S&P Global, we have this division that's called 451 Research that does a lot of tech data collection and research. So this year, emerging technologies have already received more investment in the 3 quarters than what was in 2021. 2021, post-pandemic, was considered to be sort of one of the best years in terms of investments that went into emerging businesses. It was about $142 billion in 2021, entire year. This year already, in 3 quarters, $138 billion has been invested in emerging businesses. Anybody wants to take a guess what percentage were Gen AI or AI-enabled businesses of this $138 billion that got investments? Anyone in the room? Sorry? 50 you said? 80? You're almost there. 75%. 75% of the businesses that got funding out of this, what is looking to be an absolutely record-setting year, had a Gen AI use case, and it was in all of those sectors. Gen AI enabling health tech, Gen AI enabling gov tech. These are all things that impact experiences. A small example I will share, at S&P Global, we just partnered with this company called Eightfold.ai. It's an organization that designs a talent marketplace for your company. So it will basically map the skills and performance reviews, etc., that you have of your people in an organization. We'll look at the data of what you have in your check-ins, and will suggest pathways and training curriculums and jobs that those people can do. An amazing use case that we found fascinating, something that we can give for our colleagues. So with that, before I proceed with my second round of questions for the panelists, anybody in the room that has a question for any of the panelists? Yes, sir.
Data centers in Pakistan. We're talking about data. What will be the future of data centers in Pakistan? How you define that?
Sorry, data
centers.
Data centers in Pakistan. All right. Anybody? Fahad and Mustasim and Lasha, if you want to, Lasha, you want to start, then we'll come to Fahad.
Yes, I can start because this is a great question. Because like computing and computing power is just one part of this, and definitely it's not a question, it's a matter of time and as fast as possible. My personal opinion and what we're doing is that we have to create many on-prem data centers in the country. Of course, time over time, some hyperscalers will pop up here as well, like AWS or many others, but we have to have the physical on-premise data centers. Next level data centers with AI computing capability in the country. That's where Vion is looking into, that's where Jazz is going into with Garage and many, many more to come. This is a very good question because when you have the data on-prem, then we can speak literally about specific resilient and secure data, which will be used to develop the local products. Because there is always an option, yeah? We can import something to any country, not only in Pakistan, anywhere in the world. You import the technology, you use the public cloud, and you just build it out for every company. In this case, you do all the effective and efficient things you can, but you don't innovate. Another thing is when you build something with your hands, that's where great question and my answer. We have to make the data centers, all of us. It's not just specifically one business does the data center and the other one not. As I mentioned today morning, so we used to be 5-6 years ago just a telecom, and now I speak about ride hailing and many other businesses. So data centers which data, how it will be labeled, how it will be trained, which products will be created locally by local people in this data center in a secure environment. And I'm pretty sure with the talents you have here in Pakistan, like it will be kind of a global scale tech, not just something created for the local usage, but a precedent for many, many other verticals there. And last but not least, how we use this data to make every person in this country to become more skillful, to have more skills, and to develop their ideas and bring back to this digital community of the country. So I think data centers are the muscles. Then we have to speak about how we treat the data, how we collect it as much as data as possible. And last but not the least, the most important, why are we doing this? Do we want to scale up the communities? Do we want to scale up the whole country? That's fine. That's the great purpose, that we don't leave anyone behind. And this country becomes prosperous and every of its citizen is a part of this bright future.
So, Fahad, you want to go and then Mohsin, you want to chip in on this as well? You can go after Fahad.
Yeah. So I mean, it's pretty much detailed answer already, but I will just take it from the business applications and OEM side. See, the thing is that majority of the top OEMs that we see globally are actually already saying that we are a cloud company, not an on-prem company anymore. Removing my SAP hat, I would definitely say that the target as a country and as a Pakistani should be that we should be bringing at least one of the top hyperscalers globally, from Azure to Google to Microsoft to Pakistan. The good news is, what I can tell you is that that is something which is being discussed. But a very clear part that we need to give to show to these companies is stability and some sort of a commitment of the revenue so that they can make an investment. So once the data center is there, as mentioned, there will be a lot of opportunities out there. We will have our own data center and border rules that we can apply to those companies as well.
The short answer is yes. In fact, now is the time that is prime to invest in the data center business. But you can't live in the past. You have to have the data center offer these modern services that we all spoke about just now, right? So you can't just host servers. That's not gonna be it. Data centers must enable technology innovation. They must enable all these new techs and localize them so that that's where these needs will uncover. So if you talk about data centers in the old age, it was just servers running on compute and that's it, right? Now these data centers are service providers. They are providing service for innovation, service for development, service for all the new tech out there, right? And we spoke about AI, we never spoke about blockchain. All these technologies cannot be hosted on those traditional servers that every other company has today. The only way possible is to have a central area where all that compute can be placed and can be efficiently utilized by the masses. And that's what Pakistan needs right now. And in fact, that is what a lot of other players are doing in order to unlock that innovation potential that we have today.
Awesome, thank you. Other questions? I see a hand raised over there. We'll take one more. Can we get a mic over there, please?
Hello, my name is Shoaib Shamsi, and my question is with the whole panel. I was listening to a blog, a podcast recently, a professor, and he was saying that in very, very near future, in few years, the whole humanity is going to develop this inferiority complex, because all throughout history there was one person or one group of persons who got together in a lab or in their garage or in home or office somewhere, and they had the belief and the confidence that I can do something different, I can create something that will solve a problem or change humanity. But he said that very soon we have created this super brain, superhuman that we've been talking about, AI, and that AI is going to give the whole humanity a sense of inferiority, and the belief is going to go that we are going to, I am capable of creating something new. Is that true? And if yes, what is the future of our young generations, especially when it comes to creating, whether it's technology or anything? Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. I think the philosophical angle of Gen AI and agents, we've also, I think, in our growing up, at least in my age bracket, we are influenced somewhat by Terminator and Hollywood as well. But I'll ask my esteemed panel members for a more eloquent answer to this, please. Lasha, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It's a very good philosophical question, and I agree with you. Like, lots of us grew up with Terminator and this kind of stuff. But look, the reality is, first of all, even in theoretical matters, yeah, AGI is far, far away, artificial general intelligence. So
Sure.
that's a fact. This is one. Secondly, I personally, with my full respect, I totally disagree that with AI we'll lose power of innovation. It's
100%.
vice versa. Like the idea which we could test or even brainstorm with AI agents, which we have, we can create more ideas. We can test them faster, and we can build the models on top of these ideas. And by this, I don't mean just coding. Anything, architecture, like anything, music, whatever you need. So it's a great agent, co-pilot, helping us to be faster in our creation. And of course, once again, what I'm saying that we have to be at the center of this, and as an industry also think about humanity in the center, because humans will be the center of creativity in any industry.
Yep.
Just we will be empowered, we will be having superpowers, like good guys in Terminator, to think about many, many different solutions, and what's most importantly, really to be fast in execution.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. I think this concept of doomsday conspiracies around AI taking over and the machines are here, I respect the view, but
look,
in my view, it's a bunch of BS.
Just one comment to add, yeah, like to everyone, yeah. I think every human makes error. Like, we all make errors. So at the end of the day, like, hopefully it will never happen, but whether doomsday will happen with the error of a human or with the error of AI, like...
No, but I think on a serious note, it is, as you've heard, pretty much a central theme from all the panel members. The key here is ensuring that we are upskilling not only our skill set, but also our mindset as we approach a lot of these new technologies. They're meant to enable us. We're the ones that created them. They are meant for our help and helping us become more efficient. As Lasha very rightly said, use cases are not just in the tech industry only. The use cases are there in every space, and that's where the real advantage will come. Any other opinions on this question? If there's I saw a question here somewhere. Yes, sir. We'll take one more from you.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Thank you for a wonderful discussion so far. It's a very pertinent discussion, but also when you talk about investing in data center as a business, that's, of course, the whole world is going towards that. But when you look at it from a Pakistani context and what we're doing, local businesses over here, everybody's talking about AI, upskilling, processing data at a much faster speed. But as a local business owner, if you want to invest, this is the decision I have to make next week for my company. Do I go on the cloud with all the data that I have, or do I actually build a new on-prem data center inside my company? For looking at, this is an investment you make like once every 5 years or 10 years, and looking at the future. But the challenges I have are cost. Nobody talks about the business of doing business in Pakistan and paying in US dollars for AWS or Microsoft Azure, which we don't have right now here, or going towards the local data. And also there's the legal challenge as well. The PDPA is being discussed since 2018-19, which has not been finalized. The uncertainty around that if we do go on international cloud platforms, then the law comes in and actually basically restricts you from putting data out there, which is personally identifiable, then where do we go? Because we have a lot of uncertainty around those laws. Number one, cost is an issue, and what do local businesses do? Data centers as a business is a different thing. But when we talk about existing businesses doing digital transformation, that's where the challenge lies, and I would love to hear what you guys are thinking about that.
I think we have several panel members who do that as their day job, and would love to chip in.
I thought I'd get some free advice while I'm here. So
No, absolutely. And you might get a pitch and a quotation as well afterwards. Who would like to go first? Fahad, you want to go first? And Nasir Saab, you, and then Mohsin. Good? You good, or you want to?
So I think this is a question, as mentioned, this is the question that is asked on daily basis, especially from the local customers. So I will keep it short. See, whenever you are deciding that whether you have to take your data on the cloud or on-prem, it actually depends what you want to, what application you are using. Fortunately, unfortunately, there are many applications that are only available on cloud. I mean, if as SAP, the customer comes to me and asks me, I need an on-prem solution. I mean, to answer to that question is, if you are going to buy a Honda Civic and you are asking me to give manual car, it's no more available. But having said this, I think that is something which we need to make a ROI of the complete IT solutions that you have. And typically we have seen that hybrid landscape is something which makes a lot of sense for the customers in Pakistan, paying in USD, and having some sort of an investment with their heavy data being on-prem, and the application that they want to use for business to be on cloud as well. At the same point of time, I think majority of the principal companies that are working in Pakistan are getting pretty much specifically discounted rate for Pakistan, knowing our macroeconomic challenges as well.
Discount offer bhi mil gayi aapko saath hi. Zabardast. Nasir Saab, please.
I think the question got mixed up. What I assumed, the gentleman asked that what is the scope of data center in Pakistan. So I would assume that data center is going beyond a standalone business. It's becoming an economy globally. As you see, in 10, 15 years ago, we used to size a data center 100 racks, 200 racks. Now they don't talk about racks.
That's kilowatts, yeah.
That's gigawatts.
Yeah.
10 gigawatts, 50 gigawatts. So essentially that data center economy is actually gearing up to cater for the compute need which is going to actually create these AI offshoots and other things. And in terms of investment, picking up on your thing, and I was just last week a research report was released. Last year, the revenue from AI services globally stood around $22 billion revenue. Investment last year into AI was to the tune of $330 billion. So, I mean, where is the business case? So, which means that it's real, the world is after that, and it's going to definitely be monetized. When, how, I mean, who does it very smartly, but the investment is going out, and it's not a dumb investment.
Yeah.
It's not a bhed chal type of investment. It is real investment, and one of the top brains are investing in that, BlackRocks and you name it,
right.
Everyone. So the prediction for this year is going to be that the revenue from AI services may touch around $100 billion, but the investment would be to the tune of $1 trillion. And a major portion out of that is that the data center which are going to actually house, I mean, your GPUs or compute power and whatnot. So here we are still discussing on-prem or cloud. So that is irrelevant actually. I mean, it's up to everyone you want to have your, I remember 30 years ago that SATs in Faisalabad used to have a server at home. Every SAT would have a server at home. I don't know whether it was 2 books kind of thing or a disaster recovery site or whatever, but it was there. So that will continue. It's your choice. You need to calculate your ROI. If you feel that you're running your own data center is feasible for you, fine, okay, no problem. And otherwise, the cloud is always there.
Quick comment, Lasha, then Ayub, and then Mohsin, you. I'll also come to you for your next question.
Thank you very much. Very quick one, because this is a very good question. And if I understand correctly, so my answer will be very straightforward. So for the small businesses or medium businesses, first, you need to have a cost in your local currency in which you earn. This is one. Secondly, if you go with the local developed data center and products, we can create, and you can have like HR agent, you can have financial agent, analytics tools, and whatever, which will make you more efficient. So that's the difference, because when you go, of course, there are super solutions on Microsoft Azure or anything else, but one is to buy it, to pay for it, another one is to implement it in the use cases you need. So I personally believe that the solution of the local data centers, and by that I don't mean that everything else will be localized, the layer which will be securely localized on-prem, and then of course on public cloud used, that's an opportunity for medium businesses. That's how you get the product you need and be faster. And especially in the currency, you need to have it. That would be my answer to you.
Ayub, go ahead. I'll come back to you.
I'll actually address 2 questions simultaneously, because you actually asked about the future of the data centers and you asked about the cost as well. So our group is actually looking into this project, and there's a very famous saying by Churchill that the best time to make money is when there's blood on the streets. So one, yes, there is a huge need of data centers in Pakistan. The best place to set up a data center is KP, because over there the major cost is the electricity that you have to like put into that. So over there we are in negotiations with the government for setting up hydro powers. So over there, from the hydro power, we can actually generate quite a lot of electricity, and we can do that. But the challenge that we have right now is about the confidentiality in Pakistan, because the government does not, the FIA departments or the army, or for that sake, like all those other departments, they don't allow us to have the secrecy agreements. Because if I actually am the custodian of your data, so I have to ensure that your data is not actually leaked out, or like it's not actually handed over to any authority or whatever it is. There has to be a proper like system for that. So right now, that is the biggest challenge that we are actually facing in Pakistan, because that is not addressed. These are my 2 cents.
Thank you, Ayub. Thank you, Lasha. Mohsin, you can answer this question as well, but I want to bring to you something that I know you're passionate about. From a competency standpoint, it was referenced earlier in the first answer as well, but if you can expand a little bit on that how are you seeing some competencies evolving as these new technologies come in when we look to go and engage talent or hire talent for our businesses. So please go ahead.
Thank you. So I'm just going to answer in 1 sentence. What business are you in? You have to answer that in order to conclude if cloud or hosting your infrastructure on any cloud, be it local or international, that is going to give you that answer. And having spent time on both sides of the table, being a service provider and a customer both, I know that is the question which led us as the customer back in the day towards the cloud journey. You need to focus on what you do, not managing those hardwares and bits and pieces or cables. You need to focus on that business, and that business focus will always come if you offload all that overhead to a cloud provider who are best at doing their jobs. So that's my answer to you. Competency is like, It's very important. We historically have gone through an academic journey where we taught technologies, we taught the ABCs, the mathematics on all of that, right? But when we talk about the newer generation, the newer tech, the skill of the future is not just AI. It's not just blockchain. It's not just all those fancy jargons out there. The skill of the future is creativity. The skill of the future is critical thinking. The skill of the future is everything combined with that. That is going to keep you different from all those ABCs that you have learned historically, that you do right now as well. You need to focus, and that's what we evangelize and when we work with the academia as well. And I truly believe that this needs to be done at a larger scale, that industry-academia relationship needs to take on the next level now, especially given all the emerging tech. And academia needs to table these competencies right from the onset, right from day one. So that's my thought on the competencies.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, creativity, problem solving are deeper skills. You can learn the hard skills around technology a lot easier perhaps, but mindset shaping again on how you look at a problem is important. We got handed up a question as a follow-up to the data.
That's from here.
We will come to you. Just give us one follow-up on the earlier question. We'll come to you right after this. Okay? There's a follow-up on the data centers question that both Fahad and Nasir Saab would like to take. And the follow-up for everybody's benefit is, can some of the IPP's projects that have been closed be used as data centers? So I think this was a news item recently as well. So very pertinent.
Yeah, before indulging into that discussion and try to bring out some sense out of it, we need to understand what happens in a data center. Essentially, it's a piece of, it's a shell building. The largest component in production of whatever is being produced in data center, that we will come later, is power. So if you have abundant, economical, clean, consistent power, so you are in game. Now, the second big question is that what are you going to produce in those data centers? How you are going to populate those data centers? Where would you get GPUs and CPUs? Who will invest on that? That's the real investment. I mean, $250,000 a piece, and that is also is made available as a premium kind of thing. I mean, the NVIDIA and all those productions are sold out for next 10 years. And there are political maneuvering happening to have access to GPUs if you are into AI game. So where would you get that investment? Okay, you got idle power, you can make a fancy building, then what would you do with it? Even if you get compute power, if you get $500 million worth of processors, okay, who you are going to sell it to? Our own capacity is so, tiny. The total country's spending on software and services is less than $500 million.
Right.
That doesn't
justify the spend on that.
Exactly.
All right, I'm being handed looks and notes on the timing, so we'll take one more question since the lady had raised her hand. Yes, please.
Can you hear me? Sorry. Assalamu alaikum. It's Dr. Nida Masroor from UIT University. Sir, I would like to just raise one question. Basically, there is a lot of technology that is coming our way. And as you have mentioned earlier, that implementing all those technologies will unlock a lot of problems our way. Because what we see, that technology is getting changed at a very rapid pace. And those technologies, obviously, while being delivered through the institutions, are we bringing on board all the stakeholders, including the customers, infrastructure, employees, and everything? Because that, what we actually see in the real scenario, that whenever you try to implement a solution, still we have so many apps on the internet that used to ask like whether you are going for regular download or gold download. So the limited capacity of the data centers, the limited capacity of the infrastructure, that is what actually restricting the access of regular people. And if we are having in the organization the AI-based systems implemented, that used to make the servers down. So how actually it should be properly delivered and properly worked out in the society, that's what my question is. Don't we have to devise such kind of policies through governmental portals so that's the actual core objective should be achieved? Thanks, that's from my side.
So it's sort of a suggestion, I guess, not a question. Is there a question in there? Because we are struggling to identify a question.
Asking is, what I'm asking, the data centers or technological companies, are they doing their research and are they actually considering all the stakeholders on board while making products, while delivering the applications and all those things?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if somebody wants, I can give a 10-second answer. I think all operators, large hyperscalers, they have uptimes and they have app performance numbers and sort of, so they have pretty stringent KPIs to monitor performance that do onboard everybody. We're being flashed times up. So, you know, if I try to sneak in another question, it'll be problematic. I will learn from the best, the moderator from the last session, Usman, and I'll do a lightning round. Trends from a digital future perspective, one thing that most excites you. We'll start with Lasha and work our way down here.
Only one thing, like opportunity.
Okay, lovely. Ayub?
That's a difficult one, to be very honest. There are so many things, but I can't.
So out of course हो गया ये हमने पहले इस बारे में बात नहीं की थी. So apologies for that, but I thought I'll put you on the spot a little bit. Anybody else wants to chime in?
I would actually like say the same. Like it's the opportunity, like the bigger picture.
Okay.
The future.
Our youngsters.
Yeah, Lasha said right. I mean, if you recall, in the beginning, I mentioned about opportunity.
Yep.
So it excites me because there is so much to do there. It's up to you how smartly you capture it.
Couldn't agree more.
So just being on it, this is just a start. We are entering into a new digital era. Yeah.
No, I think you talk to tech companies across Pakistan, across various spaces, more often than not, all you hear about are, I have more work than I can handle and I can't find enough people. Both fantastic problems to have, and yes, we should do something about them, but I think they represent the future that we've heard in other panels as well, but the real opportunity of our future that we all can collectively gain from. With that, thank you very much to all my panel members. Yes, sir.
Just one thing. Thank you very much for great moderation.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Back to the summit moderator.
Thank you. What a tech-oriented but fascinating conversation, and to know that data is now driving everything that we do, everything that we say, and of course, analytics will add the profound element to our usage of data. Thank you so much, Mujib, for moderating this wonderful discussion. I would request Meronisa Azhar, our COO Pakistan, to join us on stage here, and Subhan Ilahi, our Chief Creative Officer, to please come and join us here on stage. I will also request Umar Ehsan Khan Sahab, Chief Executive Officer Dollans, to do the honors of giving away the mementos to our esteemed panel here. absolutely fascinating conversation. We have, if I could request Lasha Tabidze, Global Chief Digital Operations Officer. Are we on? Claps, please. This is a very small thank you for these wonderful gems that we got away with. Nasir Akhtar Saab, Chairman, Infotech Group. Fahad Zahid, Interim Country Managing Director, SAP Pakistan and Bahrain. Mohammad Mohtasim Jangra Sahab, Director Business, MENA and USA, TMC Private Limited. And Ayub Zakori, Chief Executive Officer, Zakori Group. Lastly but not in the least, our wonderful moderator, Mujib Zahoor, Managing Director, S&P Global Pakistan. And now for the group photo. Thank you, audience. You've been lovely. And now for the final session, I'll request Farooq to take over.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Shaha. So I believe there's no tea break. The tea break will be after this session. And this is the last and final session for today in the Future Summit, the 9th edition. And thank you very much for such an engaging session 4, Intelligence Reimagined, Shaping the Digital Future of Business. Ladies and gentlemen, the last session for today is a very important one. And we experience it on a daily basis. And the theme is reputation and influence. In today's interconnected economy, reputation is actually a form of capital, one that influences trade, investment, and diplomacy. This session will examine the economics of perception, how brands, nations, and leaders craft influence through authenticity and transparency. In an era where perception shapes reality, reputation has become a new form of currency. In this session, we will dive into how nations and organizations can build influence through integrity, authenticity, and purpose. For this session, I would like to call upon our first guest. He's an international speaker. He is the Global Chief Research Officer and Executive Vice President, Ipsos, which is a global market research firm. Mr. Trent Ross is an Executive VP and is the Chief Research Officer of the Ipsos Corporate Reputation Service line. He consults with clients around the world on corporate reputation and risk management, and he has worked on corporate reputation and crisis management campaigns for top international companies, including ExxonMobil, Meta, Nestle, Microsoft, Coca-Cola, and Boeing. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr. Trent Ross, the Global Chief Research Officer and EVP, Ipsos.
Oh, we have a thing. No? Okay. Yeah, that was sent weeks ago. this on. Uh-oh, I'm losing them. We're losing the crowd. Babar sent it. Yeah, I'll talk. Yeah. All right. So while we're working that out, so I'm here to talk about corporate reputation. It's something that I think is often overlooked when people think about their companies. They think about their brands, they think about their products, they think about how they're building their business, and corporate reputation often gets left behind because it's a nice to have. It's not a need to have, or at least that's the perception. When I started doing corporate reputation research in the late 1990s, very few people were really concerned about their corporate reputation. It was considered something that only oil and gas companies or tobacco companies really thought about, right? People were focused on their brand, not their reputations. That all changed one day in the late 90s when my good client at Microsoft was sued by the Department of Justice for bundling Internet Explorer with Windows. Sounds pretty cute today, doesn't it, that that would be a huge problem that they would have. But instead, what happened was it immediately imperiled their global business. They were sued first by the Department of Justice and then by many other states around the country. And so, all of a sudden, corporate reputation became currency for them. And so, when we think about reputation now, we think about what is the future value of my reputation? Do I build reputation in order to build up benefit of the doubt, right? To increase the equity in my business. But there's another way to think about reputation, and that's what value does it give me my business now? How can I use it to make my business stronger? So if you take away one thing from this, I want you to understand that reputation is the grease on the wheel of business. The stronger your reputation, the easier it is to do business with your partners, to get on with the government, to hire the right people, to have the media listen to your message, and to have consumers buy your product. And you might say, well, consumers are the last people that we think care about reputation. And that's fair. But think about this. If you're a company and you're not trusted, do consumers listen to your advertising? Are consumers willing to pay a premium for your product? They're not. So we have global evidence, it would be up there, that essentially, as you build trust in your business, as you build trust in your company, you build the ability to drive marketing efficiency for your business. If you build trust, you spend less money for each product you sell on advertising, you spend less money in your government relations, you spend less money in your media relations. It just makes your business more efficient. And then the other thing I would say about reputation is that you can't just leave it to chance. So Paul Pullman, who was the former CEO of Unilever, he said, our market capitalization at the time was like $270 million, right? But our asset value is only $27 million. The rest of that value is the value of our reputation. That's a lot of money, right? Now, I've done the math, and that math works out great if you cherry pick, right? If you look only at certain companies and you look at their asset value compared to their market value, you'll see somebody like Google who has probably 800 times the market value of their asset value. And you'll see a company like ExxonMobil which has more asset value than market value. You can say, okay, a good, strong reputation company on one hand, a low reputation company on the other, that makes up the difference in their asset value. That doesn't work as well when you look at, say, 120 companies at random. Starts to look a lot more random. So how do we prove it instead? Well, one way we can prove it is through survey research. And that's what we've done. We've done it a few different times over the years. We do it about every 5 years to make sure the math still holds. But what we find is across different types of companies, the higher the level of trust in the company, as trust goes up, the marketing efficiency of that company goes up. And marketing efficiency, we can calculate from their publicly released data, right? You can look and see how much a company spends on advertising and how much they have in sales. The ratio of advertising sales advertising spend to sales is marketing efficiency. And it's almost a straight line between trust and marketing efficiency across different types of industries, across different types of countries. It works at the regional level. It works everywhere. But why does this work, right? How does this mechanism work? So at the survey research level, we're able to look at how this works at the individual level. So you survey a whole bunch of people about their trust in companies, and then you ask them, do you find their advertising memorable? Are you willing to pay a premium for their product? Is it something that you'd go out of your way to look for? And what you see invariably is almost a straight line relationship. The more people trust companies, the more they're willing to pay attention to the advertising and to pay a premium for their products. So it works at the macro level and it works at the micro level. And so the challenge you have then is how do you build your reputation? I've had meetings with several clients while I've been here in Pakistan, and their questions are the same questions I see all over the world. Who are our stakeholders? Oh, don't worry about it at this point. Who are their stakeholders, and what should we say to them? So I think the first thing that you have to realize is that defining your stakeholders doesn't start with you. Defining your stakeholders starts with the issues that matter to your company. Oh, hey, look, a deck. I'm going to jump around here. Boop, boop, boop. Oh, hey, look, it's Paul Pullman. So here we are. The issues are what matters when you define your stakeholders, not where you sit, right? You are part of the environment of that issue. And so if you go issue by issue that your company cares about, then you understand what your stakeholder audience is. And from there, you can define the value of those stakeholders and the trust and what trust gets you, right? And so I mentioned this already. Trust in the government gets you a seat at the table. Trust among the media gets you heard. And trust among consumers gets you marketing efficiency. And now that we've got this, I'm going to jump to the math. You thought there would be no math, right? If you trust a company, you're more likely to follow them on social media, you're more likely to apply for jobs, lots of benefits. If you trust a company, you're more likely to give them the benefit of the doubt in a crisis. This is research done across over 120 companies across 25 countries. It works across the board. But it doesn't really differ very much by industry. The story is basically the same across industries. Oh, and look at that. For the mathematically inclined, that's an extremely strong fit line, right? Trust explains nearly 98% of benefit of the doubt. If you trust a company and they screw up, you're more willing to say, okay, I understand, I'll let that go. I'm sure they'll fix it. If you distrust a company, these guys here at the bottom, you're not going to get the benefit of the doubt. You're sunk. And here's what I was talking about in terms of present value, right? If you trust a company, you're more likely to think their advertising is believable and to pay a premium. And as I mentioned, this marketing efficiency, it goes up and up and up as trust goes up. It works across regions. So this isn't just a Western thing. This works everywhere. And look at this. This fit line's not as nice, right? There's a little bit of cloudiness to it. But marketing efficiency explains, or trust explains, a huge deal of marketing efficiency. So if your brand managers are saying to you as a corporate communicator, why should we invest in managing reputation? What difference does it make? It makes it easier to make money. And everybody likes to make money. So first, trust has an impact across the business, makes all of your business interactions stronger. Building trust gives you the benefit of the doubt in crisis. I have had so many clients who look like this because they didn't build trust ahead of time, and then they're fighting from behind, trying to catch up. And trust impacts people's willingness to purchase from you. Just because I have a couple of minutes here, I'm going to go back and look at Paul Pullman's math, just for you real quick. All right, so there's Paul. The other thing he says, in addition to, it's 130 billion in market cap against 30 billion in assets. I had my numbers a little bit off, trying to go by heart, but that was pretty close. He also says that reputation has a habit of arriving on foot and departing by horseback. That's a pretty well-known cliche. I like to say that reputation is like an oil tanker. It takes a really long time to change direction, but if you screw up, you're going to be cleaning your reputation off the beach for 20 years. So here's the math, right? There's Unilever at the top. His math worked out. This was current as of about a year ago. You see these guys on the other side, Prudential, AT&T, GM, Shell, and United. They're all challenged, right? They have more cash on hand and assets than they have in market cap. But when you map this out to the broadest level, you see that your scatter plot no longer fits all that well. Trust doesn't really explain that much difference in your ratio of market capitalization to asset value. Now, what was I before? Oh, that other scatter plot, the one that works much better. So if you take away from this, trust up, marketing efficiency up. It's easier to make money if you build your reputation. Reputation is a value multiplier, not a cost center. And with that, I'll turn it over to my colleague here, because I think I've gone through that.
Thank you very much, Trent, for this, your enlightening views. Ladies and gentlemen, up next, we have another international speaker. He's a senior advisor, Global Markets, Churchill Downs, USA, and he's a seasoned executive and strategist with over 20 years of experience in financial and global emerging markets. Please put your hands together for Mr. Konstantin Makarov, the Senior Advisor, Global Markets, Churchill Downs, USA. Please welcome Mr. Konstantin.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry, I guess I'm the last thing before you and the end of the day. So I'll try to make this brief but pointed. It's been fascinating to be back in Karachi. I've been coming to Pakistan for the last 8 years. And it's impressive to hear and observe all the progress that has happened the last few years, and also to hear from all the other speakers about technology and process and people. My subject that Asfar kindly asked me to talk about is slightly different. It talks about sports and what sport does to economies. As a senior executive at Churchill Downs, an institution steeped in over 150 years of sports history and global event management, and operating from our regional headquarters in Dubai, I sit at a very unique intersection of heritage, innovation, and emerging market dynamism. The history of Churchill Downs, which is best known for owning the Kentucky Derby, is a testament to the power of a single sporting event to build a global brand and an enduring economic engine. My goal today is to look beyond the spectacle and examine some data behind the title that was assigned to me, which is The Growth Game, Sports as an Economic Power. For too long, the sports industry in emerging economies has been viewed primarily through a very social lens, as entertainment, a source of national pride, or a mechanism for social cohesion. While all those elements stand true, we must recognize it first and foremost as a catalyst for high-impact economic development. The sports economy is not a single or a side project. It is a Tier 1 industry capable of driving GDP, employment, infrastructure, and international soft power. We'll talk about what I refer to as the sports economy flywheel, which includes tourism, jobs, and investment. So how do sports events transform a city's balance sheet? Let's look at Karachi. It ignites self-perpetuating sports economies. The flywheel has the 3 gears which we discussed: tourism, job creation, and infrastructure investments. The global magnet of sports tourism. Major sporting events are one of the most powerful triggers for inbound tourism. This isn't just a handful of ticket sales. It is a massive, concentrated influx of high-value visitors. Look at the Middle East, a region rapidly growing and providing this model. The Dubai World Cup is one of the world's most richest horse races currently. Dubai World Cup is far more than a day at Meydan Racecourse. It is an annual showcase that significantly bolsters the tourism and hospitality sectors across all of the Emirates. It attracts thousands of international visitors, driving high occupancy rates in hotels, boosting patronage in restaurants and retail, and providing global exposure that lasts long after the final race. If we move on to something else, Live Golf, which if those of you that do not follow sports, has absolutely upended the game of golf. The relatively new golf circuit brings a significant and measurable economic jolt. Independent analysis of Live Golf events in host cities consistently shows tens of millions of dollars in direct impact per tournament. This is generated primarily from visitor spending on lodging, local transportation, and supporting small businesses. It effectively puts emerging cities on the map for a new demographic of global travelers. Let's look a little bit beyond the field and look at job creation and skills. The sports industry is labor intensive. Unlike everybody else that spoke about technology, there is no replacement of the physical elements that the sports industry requires. From stadium construction crews and security teams to media production, digital marketing, hospitality, management, and athlete services. These are not just temporary jobs. They create a demand for new, specialized skills in a developing economy. Furthermore, the sports goods manufacturing sector is a key economic contributor, especially right here in Pakistan. The global fame of the Sialkot sports good industry supplying high-quality footballs and equipment worldwide shows Pakistan's capacity to lead on the global stage, earning valuable foreign exchange and supporting entire regional communities. Within the local context, we don't have to look at only global events. The blueprint for success already exists right here in Karachi, leveraging the passion of cricket and the PSL. Cricket is, of course, a passion that unifies Pakistan, but the Pakistan Super League has successfully monetized that passion, turning it into a major domestic economic engine. When matches take place, especially here at the National Bank Stadium, the entire surrounding ecosystem thrives. Vendors, local businesses, media organizations, and the travel sector all see significant uplift. What has the PSL done? Increased foreign investment through sponsorship and franchise ownership, boosted local media rights value, which is reinvested back into the game and the infrastructure, and provided international projection of the country's stability and capability to host world-class events. This demonstrates that a well-organized, televised, and marketed domestic league is a powerful economic tool for any emerging economy. Vision for growth, the future of sports infrastructure. The next step in the growth game is a strategic infrastructure investment. The lessons from the company that I work with, Churchill Downs, which has undergone multi-million-dollar renovations to stay competitive, and the new developments across the Gulf are clear. World-class infrastructure and facilities attract world-class investment. Investing in a multi-purpose sports complexes, modern training facilities, and event venues not only host games, but also provides public spaces and drives the surrounding real estate value and urban development, and becomes a true legacy asset. As an executive who supports one of the world's great sporting institutions from the regional hub in Dubai, I believe in the transformative power of the sports industry, particularly for emerging economies like Pakistan. The growth game is one we all will win when we approach sports with an investor's mindset. We must move beyond viewing sports as a mere entertainment and embrace its role as a sophisticated tool for tourism, trade, and more importantly, diplomatic soft power. I urge the leadership in this room in business, government, and academia to prioritize strategic investment and governance in the sports sector. Let the energy of the crowd translate into economic momentum, and let the power of the game be the engine of this nation's growth. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Constantine. You were speaking on the growth game, sports as economic power. You spoke about the brand power, what it carries, and you mentioned PSL, which has been a success story till date, and obviously we need to grow on it further. To take this session further, we will have once again on stage Mr. Usman Yusuf, who is the Director, Nutshell Group, to moderate a question and answer session with our two esteemed guests, Mr. Konstantin Makarov and Mr. Trent Ross. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Usman Yusuf. Over to you, Usman, sir.
Okay. Yeah, that was very interesting. Thanks, Trent, for sharing some of the lessons around trust and reputation. I think we live in a world where reality has become cheap, but reputation and perception is now the real sort of strategic asset that a lot of companies and a lot of governments undervalue. I was looking at some statistics, and influencer marketing in 2015 was about $3 billion as a global economic spend on marketing. And in 2025, that number rose to $33 billion. So from 3 to 33. But what really shocked me was what the projections look like for 2033. Anyone want to venture a guess of what influencer marketing would look like in 2033 as marketing spend. So 3 to 33, and 2033, which is 8 years from today, the expectation is it's going to be around 338 billion. So 3 to 33 to 338. And you know, those, some say that's conservative, others say that's liberal, but let's say it's around that kind of growth. So influence and reputation is undervalued. And who would have thought, you know, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that there'll be influencers popping up everywhere. And what are the influencers really trying to do? They're trying to create trust and build reputation. So I think it's very enlightening, and there's a lot of lessons to be learned. As Pakistani expatriates, we often look at our role outside of Pakistan, and I would extend that to Constantine, at least, and hopefully to Trent as well, as ambassadors of Pakistan. And we often say to people we meet outside of Pakistan that Pakistan has a reputation problem, has a perception problem, that there are great things in this country if only you would come and visit us. And then you see a lot of these videos of travelers coming into Pakistan and finding great things about it, right? The most hospitable country in the world. You know, some of the best food they've ever had. They travel to the northern areas, they enjoy the grace and sort of openness, the hospitality that Pakistan has to offer. So the question, I suppose, Trent, is after that little monologue.
Yeah.
What are the reputational lessons as a country so Pakistan can project soft power and reputation in the world and gain from, you know, things like tourism, as Constantine mentioned, and all the other sort of benefits that Pakistan can reap from reputation?
Sure. So the first thing I'll say is be careful about which influencers you pick. We've seen, while the influencer economy has skyrocketed, as you mentioned, the problems caused by influencers have also skyrocketed and nearly sunk several companies. So the first thing you want to do is be careful about who your influencers are from Pakistan. The second thing is to understand what is your driver, what's your hook, right? Is your hook going to be going to the north and seeing the natural environment and hospitality? Is your hook going to be economic power? Understanding, first of all, like where you stand in the world, and then second, how do you drive that standing? And I don't think we know that yet. You have to go out and you have to talk to people and ask people to understand what it is exactly that you should be doing.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, as they say that it takes, and I think you made a metaphor for the tanker, that it takes a lot to kind of move the tanker, but one spill and you're tainted forever. Yep. Another metaphor that I found interesting was that it takes years or even decades to build reputation, but a few tweets sitting on a toilet drunken tweets on a toilet to kind of ruin it. And I think we're all maybe thinking of the same person when I say that. Hint, Truth Social. But anyway, Constantine, coming to you, another way that nations, and I'm going to try to tie in the question that I gave to Trent as well, another way that nations project soft power is at the moment through sports. And whether that's sports in the traditional sense or it's esports, which has also become very popular in the Middle East, where amazing, incredible deals are happening in Saudi Arabia, in the UAE. There's some very interesting sort of moves that the Gulf states are making for that kind of soft power. So where does sports fit into this? You mentioned PSL, for instance. What other lessons that you can tell us about, that examples that we can try and emulate to try and create sports as a economic engine for Pakistan and create sort of that reputational dividend, but also a real financial dividend?
Sure, I appreciate the question. And just a little bit of a background, only about 28% of the revenue for Churchill Downs, which is a public company, comes from live racing. A very large percent is from a technology perspective, and most of our employees that are non-seasonal sit in that division. What does that mean? So this relates to, I believe, the previous panels that we've had, where sports and events are just one element to drive growth and capital investments and expenditure within the regional hubs, be it in cricket or be it in horse racing. But everything that's around that industry is really what that power engine looks like. So if you look at what does to produce an event. So right now we're all sitting here at the Future Summit. Somebody had to build a stage. Somebody's sitting in the back of the room right now. You have folks with engineering degrees. So these are high-skilled individuals that are not replaceable by pure technology. Having said that, technology is definitely a part of that business. But from a lessons learned perspective is to capitalize on your winning events and go all in on the events that you know attract the crowds. Build on them, improve them, make that experience into something that the individuals don't forget and becomes a family affair year after year.
Yeah, so people and technology, there are lots of pieces of the puzzle that need to come together to make sure that you can leverage the sports itself. It's not just about who runs faster, who jumps higher, who plays better, but it's monetizing better, it's getting the right people in place, the infrastructure, the marketing, and everything needs to align. Yeah, absolutely. Trent, we've talked this morning about technology and AI as well, and with the reputation game, one of the things that people are very concerned about is what is perceived reality in the age of AI?
Right.
And how is reputation either at risk? I mean, we've seen deep fakes, we've seen all kinds of sort of crazy things happen. So what view do you take about authenticity in the age of AI and perceived reality versus actual reality? I hope this isn't too much for the last session of the evening, but it's a question that I often wonder about, and we'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Can I jump in on the sport thing?
Absolutely, please jump in. And by the way, I'm going to open it up to questions after the next question, so please start thinking about what questions you want to ask as well, so we'll try and take some of those on board, please.
I do want to mention something about sports. Sports, in its most ideal state, is a competition between teams of equals who are fighting a battle within a set of rules and a set of engagement. And so it is an attractive place for companies to advertise, right? Most sports advertising is simply that. It's marketing, it's advertising. But it can also become a reputation play when you interweave what your company stands for with the sport. And so I do agree that sport is a way, to your previous question, to build the reputation of Pakistan. On the question of AI, right? So one of the ways that I often explain reputation is by using the analogy of a Google search. And so now you could use it as a ChatGPT question, right? Which is, when you put in the name of a company in the Google search, the first thing that comes up is usually their own communications. So if you put in the Coca-Cola company, the first thing comes up is the Coca-Cola brand site. But on that same page is on the little Google drop-downs or the little AI questions, is Coca-Cola a bad company? And everything that you click on there is reputation. So your brand is what you're saying to the world, and that can be your authentic self. Everything else out there, everything the way it's filtered through the types of people who are in this room today, through AI, through data centers, that becomes your reputation. And therefore, the more people adopt an AI and just asking ChatGPT, right? And they stop there and they don't pursue beyond that, that makes your reputation ever more valuable to manage actively, and it makes it all that more difficult to manage your reputation in real time because it's just such a mess. So you really have to be on top of it. You really have to be flooding the zone, so to speak. If you are silent, somebody will fill that vacuum for you, and they don't necessarily have your best interests at heart.
Yeah, absolutely. I can think of a number of examples in recent history of sort of leaving the field open and filling the vacuum, as you said. Constantine, circling back to you, on the subject of, I mean, you've been with Churchill Downs in this role. You're relatively new to this role. So I was wondering, can you try and, for this audience, speak to them about what the size of this kind of sports opportunity really is? And if there's anything that's really surprised you over the short tenure that you've had in this area that you weren't expecting going in.
Sure.
So that would be great, yeah.
Good and loaded question. So again, size opportunity-wise, let's look at the company that I work with right now. From a market cap perspective, we're an 8 billion plus company, right? US. So that's just our entity outside of everything else that's around the sporting events. The partnership landscape has proven to be very interesting, to answer that question. And if you look at current sponsorships from a reputational perspective, if you look at all the football clubs in Europe, they're all sponsored by non-European entities mainly. If you look at various sporting events globally, you're seeing a cross-pollination of sponsorships and trying to control a narrative of support for sports as part of that soft economic power. And I would say, to me, one of the surprises has been a pleasant surprise, is the amount of both deal making and policy making that takes place at any field or any sports events. People are there, they gather around to watch the allure of as you pointed out, the battle of the best. But on the sidelines, it provides a very clean and I would say non-biased environments to have frank conversations. And I think that has been an interesting observation, and I hope that came through as I was speaking about the soft power of what sports brings.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of Formula One in Abu Dhabi, for instance, or even UFC or PFL. I was at a PFL event recently, and I ran into a colleague of mine or a classmate of mine from back in college, and now we're thinking about doing a venture. And you have the right kind of confluence of people who have access to capital and capability, and if you can get the right people in the room together, even though that wasn't the reason they got there, but that happens on the side, so absolutely.
But you share the passion, right? So I think once people or entities share a common passion, it's much easier to have conversations that are open-ended about other things outside of the reason why you attended an event.
Yeah, you want to work with people with similar interests, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm going to open it, sorry, please go ahead.
I would say I live in Washington, D.C. You would be amazed how many policy agreements are made on the sidelines of a youth baseball field. Because Republicans and Democrats both play baseball, you're both there to cheer on your kids, and oh, you happen to work, okay, well, why don't we,
there you go. Absolutely.
Work it out a little bit.
So that's been fantastic, gentlemen. Thank you very much for talking to us about reputation and sports. I want to try and open it up to the audience if there's any questions for our panelists. We're discussing reputation, brand, we're discussing sports and growth. Any questions, concerns, ideas that you want to share with us? Seems like we have one in the back over there. Okay, so we'll do that one.
Hi, this is Fauzia again. Very interesting topic, reputation, integrity, and sports. Pakistan is a country with a lot of potential, and I would like to mention Sialkot, one city which is famous for sports good, for manufacturing of many other items related to sports, and the potential of Pakistan as an emerging market. So any thoughts on bringing these international level events besides cricket to Pakistan?
I think that's a question for you.
So from my perspective, again, our focus as a company is really within the equestrian or the horse ecosystem. Given that the current environment here, there is a bit of the jockey environment here as well, but in the very immediate future, I would say the market is not quite there just yet, but we would definitely be interested in developing it.
Yeah, I mean, just to sort of chime on there as well, Constantine, I live somewhere where there's an equestrian club nearby, and the amount of effort and infrastructure, just sort of transportation, technology that goes into moving around horses is quite a challenge, and it's remarkable how you wouldn't imagine how challenging that can be. So I can completely understand where you're coming from in terms of that complexity, but nevertheless, you have to start, and when you start, you can start creating some of those. So perhaps horses is not the way to go or to start off with, but there are other opportunities. UFC is a great one, or combat sports. That's a great one that could possibly. But that's a conversation for another day. Anyone else would like to? Any other questions? Okay, we have one more. Okay, so we'll make this the last one, and then we'll wrap it up.